Set for a Sunday finale in Blacksburg. A ranked Wake Forest team, a ranked Virginia Tech team. Deacons looking like that crew that made the run to Omaha a season ago, having taken the first two on this weekend. And the Virginia Tech Hokies looking to salvage the series at English Field. Well, you look back at this series, obviously the first two trending Wake Forest, but both contests that Virginia Tech was right in the thick of.
Yeah, they were. They were good ball games, three-run ball games, both of them. Wake Forest able to get those victories. They've hit just well enough to win. They've pitched it extremely well. And defensively, they've been really good and really clean also.
Welcome to our ACC Network coverage of Game 3 alongside my broadcast partner, former Hokie, Andrew Wells. Jason Patterson with you. And Andrew, really is a story for Wake Forest right now. After scuffling through the first part of the year, they look like that preseason number one.
Yeah, they do, and you knew it was coming. They're getting healthy. Again, they're playing well defensively, offensively. The pitching has been tremendous, and it's been good enough for them to take games 1 and 2 here in Blacksburg.
The pitching there, yes, so has Nick Kurtz been. He is coming into his own. Couple of home runs in the series, one in each of the first two games.
Yeah, the left-handed hitting Kurtz has been really good for Wake. There's been a couple guys that we could kind of call out from this lineup that have been the difference in the first two wins in this series, but Kurtz, as you see, that one may still be traveling up and over the scoreboard late last night in the Game 2 victory.
He was banged up a bit earlier in the year, but Nick Kurtz coming into his own now, and with his surge, the Demon Deacons working their way a little closer to the top of the ACC standings. Unfamiliar territory for Griffin Stig. He's been so good on Sundays, but this is the first time the Hokies have dropped a series, so he is the stopper on this day.
Yeah, Virginia Tech definitely in a different perspective and position here in Game 3 for the first time, trying to salvage that series and at least get one victory. Take a look at his numbers. 8th start of the season, 3-1, and the strikeout to walk ratio at 34-9 really stands out to me. I think they're going to lean heavily on the right-hander here. Hope he can go middle way deep into this game, and still plenty of life in the bullpen left as well as the Hokies look to take one here in this 3-game set.
The lineup he will face for Wake Forest, yes, the headliner we showed you at the beginning of our broadcast is Kurtz, but it is loaded top to bottom, a Deacons team that shows tremendous patience at the plate. And they will be led to the charge by Marek Houston, who is standing in, ready to get our ball game underway. First pitch from Stig is delivered at 1:02, right on target on this Sunday afternoon. Again, a pleasure to have you with us on the ACC Network. 57 degrees in Blacksburg, and something we haven't had yet in this series. Sunshine. The first two contests were night games, so with cooler temperatures for April, Andrew, fans certainly glad the sun is out today.
Yeah, that's for sure. We've seen some signs of some really nice weather here in the New River Valley, but 2 night games, Friday 7 and last night at 7 as well. It was definitely a bit chilly. Good to see some sunshine and another good turnout. Spring
is coming, we promise. Here is the leadoff man for Wake Forest. You get a glance at his numbers, up over 300 with the average on the season for Houston. Takes a look at a pitch well out of the zone. This Demon Deacon squad, as you saw, taking both of the first two games by 3 runs. Houston into center. That's sinking, and it's going to fall just atop that Virginia Tech logo right in front of Watson. And a leadoff base runner for Wake Forest. Gets this lineup jump-started. Who else do you highlight besides the guy we talked about in the open when you look at the Wake Forest lineup in full, Andrew?
Well, Seaver King, a guy last night who was the difference in the 3-run ball game as they take that one 6-3. See him highlighted playing the hot corner on the defensive side, but the 3-run shot proved to be the difference in that second win for Wake Forest.
Bunt to move the runner right away, just in case runs are at a premium on this Sunday. Nice play by the third baseman. DeMartini comes charging, and he makes an on-target throw. Serves the purpose for the Deacons, though, as a successful move of the base runner into scoring position gets the job done. At least that's what we think happened. Here comes our initial review of this Sunday. They're going to take a look at that close play at first base.
Yeah, umpire's hard at work early in this one for the first out recorded. Will it stand or not? You see a really good bunt here from Adam Tellier. Lays it down the line. Takes one peek and then straight through. DeMartini, no choice but to bare hand. Appears there Ebel's foot is on the bag, and the ball definitely beats him, but does the foot come off?
That is what our umpiring crew is reviewing as we speak. Well, it gives us a chance to introduce you to our umpiring crew. Here's one more glance from a different angle. Do you see anything there?
I don't see any separation between the white cleat and the white bag. I expect with the call on the field being out, this one might stand. To your point, the job was done by Tellier. The runner is advanced, puts him at second base with less than 2 outs, but I think we'll have our first out recorded here in the ballgame.
While they look at it, we can tell you our home plate umpire today is Joseph Blumenauer. It is Albert Martinez at first base, Gregory Street, our second base umpire, and Thomas Newsom is at third base on this mid-50s day in Blacksburg, Virginia. So under review, a bunt up the third base line that was intended to sacrifice the leadoff man, Houston, who singled to start the ball game into scoring position, but that is all under judgment right now. Here's a look at the head man for the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, Tom Walter, reigning coach of the year in the ACC after leading his team on that run to Omaha. They ended up one of the last, not just 8 teams standing, one of the last 4 teams standing a season ago. Here comes the verdict on our first review here in the opening inning. The out is recorded, so good news for Virginia Tech. It will stand.
Yeah, but good execution from Wake Forest and Tellier there to do his job, get the bunt down, almost a bunt for a base hit there, obviously enough that it needed to be reviewed. Nonetheless, he moves the runner into scoring position, and we talked about Kurtz in the long ball as he steps in, but we've also seen some small ball from this Wake Forest team, getting the bunts down, advancing runners. And here they're just looking to scratch first, see what they can do to get this first run across in the top half.
Another thing you noted when we were talking about it coming into today, Andrew, Wake Forest has grabbed the reins in each of the first 2 ball games and kind of held Virginia Tech at arm's length.
Well, yeah, we talked about the close competitive game 1 and 2. Again, 3-run deficits that turned out to be the final score in both of them. Virginia Tech, the home team in it, brings the tying run to the plate in the 8th inning both evenings. But to your point, just enough momentum. Wake Forest doing the right things, getting the lead, and able to retain that lead to take a series before we even get to game 3 here today.
And the reason we underscore that point, because here the Deacons looking for that early advantage one more time with a runner in scoring position after a leadoff knock from Houston, and they have their man Kurtz now hitting 270 plus on the year at the plate. And he tries to duplicate his most recent at bat in this series, as that is another deep fly to right field that will sail over the fence for a Nick Kurtz home run. He's homered in each game of the series, and I will underscore that. Has homered in each of his last 2 at-bats in the series now as well.
Well, and that almost looked like a replay from last night. Same positioning on the field at the scoreboard. Again, last night it was pretty dark, but I'm pretty sure he went up and over the VT. That one obviously not hit as well, but you see Kurtz here with just a huge swing from the left side, a ball that's elevated from Stig and just continues to travel, and there it is. There's the momentum. Top half of the first, 1 out recorded. Wake Forest already ahead, 2-0.
With the resurgence of the junior out of the state of Pennsylvania, Wake Forest having found itself offensively here in Blacksburg. With 2 already on the board. The first at bat for the cleanup man, Winay. He'll line this toward the left field corner. Trouble if it's fair, and he's going to knock up some chalk. Digging for second base and sliding in there head first with a double is Winay, and Wake having brought the lumber right off the bus here on this Sunday.
Well, they sure have, and that ball's hit really hard on a line. No chance for Canizero. Left fielder does a good job to play it off the wall and get it in, but easy double there for Winay. Still less than 2, another runner in scoring position, and Wake Forest, again, they've played well on all 3 sides. 3 sides meaning pitching, hitting, and defense to get to this point in this series and take the first 2, but they're showing that they're here to try to really provide that final blow and working towards a sweep. Obviously plenty of baseball left, but this is such a game of momentum. Hokies not even to their first at bat and chasing at least 2. See if Stig can get out of this one with no further damage.
It's going to get a routine fly ball into left here. Canizero will camp under this. That retires Reinisch. And Winay remains at second base. It'll be up to King.
King, the guy that we highlighted again, didn't try to do too much with the ball up in the zone. Just got his hands extended, pushed it to the right side, almost exactly where Kurtz hit it. But as a right-handed hitter, showing his opposite field power on that 3-run shot.
Yeah, Kurtz is 6th in the last 5 contests, and as he has come to life, Wake has come to life. This was a team, Wake Forest, that was 3-4 on the road entering the weekend. And you know what had happened to them in the early stages of ACC play. And Virginia Tech, unfortunately, catching them at a spot on the schedule where they had to turn things around. And one of the more talented teams in the country having done that thus far. In play to second, scooped up out there, gobbled up by Martin, and he'll take it to the bag for the final out. That drops the curtain on the top half of this first inning, but it is marked by another Wake Forest lead and another Nick Kurtz home run. The powerful Virginia Tech lineup looking to wake up on this Sunday is as follows. We highlight DeMartini, who also uses the long ball fairly effectively in his arsenal.
Yeah, absolutely. DeMartini kind of the highlight for Virginia Tech coming into the season and throughout. But if you're Virginia Tech and head coach John Sheff, you'll take anybody getting hot on this Sunday. Try to find a way to combat this 2-0 deficit here in the top half of the first that off the bat it Kurtz, but anybody getting going, Virginia Tech trying to find a way. If you didn't see any of yesterday or Friday as we take a look at Michael Massey in his 7th start, he's got the 3-1 record, 32 strikeouts, 10 walks, running the fastball up there in the mid-90s. Hasn't gone real long in any of his starts yet this year, so we'll keep an eye on that and see how early Wake Forest goes to the pen. But my point on that first half, if you didn't see any of yesterday's game or Friday's game, that first half inning was exactly what we've experienced. Just enough pop and fireworks, put a couple runs on the board, and it kind of dies and goes to the latter half of the inning or top half of the next. And Hokies chasing, Wake Forest leading, find ourselves right back in that position here, bottom half of the first.
New day, bright sunshine, a lot of baseball left. Let's see what transpires the rest of the way. Massey's first pitch to be delivered to Martin, and he takes a called strike. Martin, to this point in the series for Virginia Tech, 0 for, still looking for his first knock as the catalyst at the top. You know, so often when he's going as the leadoff man, the rest of this offense gets going as well. That's
right. Coming in at 314 for Christian Martin. Saw a little change in the lineup yesterday as he moved down to the 7th spot. Clay Grady, typically in the 9-hole, kind of that secondary leadoff guy trying to turn the lineup over, got bumped up to the leader spot. But Christian Martin right back in it here, trying to find a way on.
Back in his usual spot, but this has been a familiar refrain this weekend. The Wake pitching as dominant as what we've seen with the swings. You think about Chase Burns, the 15 of these in the opener on Friday night, and here's the first for Massey.
Yeah, good spin there from the right-hander. Martin just gets extended, pulling off of it a little bit, and a good job there by Cameron Gill behind the plate to hang on to that one and not require a throw down to first base.
Massey is a Tulane transfer. He's out of Sewanee, Georgia. He transferred from Tulane at the end of the 2022 season, so he's with the Deacons on that run to Omaha last year. In fact, Massey had some key postseason moments, and he was a member of the Winston-Salem all-regional team as they started that journey toward baseball's promised land there in the Midwest. So Massey's a guy, yes, he's a Sunday starter, Andrew, but he has a ton of experience, and much of that experience is postseason experience for Wake Forest.
That's exactly right. It's at the highest level. We talked as he came out to get going here in the bottom half. He's kind of had some short stints in this season, but nothing more relevant than last year and what he was able to do for them as they made their run in some of the most competitive games.
Will surrender the walk right on the backside of what was the 31st strikeout of the weekend, notched by Wake Forest pitching. And DeMartini patiently tries to turn the tide a bit. He's aboard in front of Canizero. Finishing up on Massey in a season ago, he made 27 appearances. Just one of those starts, though, ended up with a 3-1 record, also had a save in 41-plus innings pitched. But who can forget him not allowing a hit, getting a couple of strikeouts in the Super Regional against Alabama, and then his relief appearance, a scoreless outing against eventual national champion LSU in the College World Series semifinal. So that's how important some of those postseason moments you were talking about were for Michael Massey, the former Tulane right-hander, now a big piece of this Wake weekend rotation. Numbers on the screen for Canizero, who tries to jump-start it for Virginia Tech.
That's exactly right. We talked about Martin in the leadoff spot. As he goes, this offense goes. DeMartini following, kind of the highlight of this offensive lineup in Virginia Tech. Canizero, another guy who can really get it done at the plate. Hasn't done a ton lately, looking to get on track and get some confidence back. As you see a big cut there on the 1-1.
Well, you talked about the adjustment in the lineup yesterday. He batted cleanup in game 2 of the series, finds his way back into the 3-hole here. He was 0 for 3 in the opener with a walk and had the hat trick in that one, but bounced back with a single out of the cleanup spot last night. Went 1 for 4 in the contest.
Yeah, a couple more strikeouts last night as well, and not picking on Canizero at all, but just kind of been the story for this lineup, top to bottom, trying to find a way to get the monkey off their back, get going, find a spark.
This popped up. Second baseman Tellier is underneath it in the shallow right field grass area, and he will make the catch on this beautiful turf, of course, here in Blacksburg. A look at the defensive alignment in full for Wake Forest with Nelson, Houston, and Tellier, and of course Gill back behind the plate today, providing a strong group up the middle for the Demon Deacons.
Yeah, we talked about every aspect of the game for Wake being so good. Defense has been solid. It's been really clean both ways. So I can't really find one team being rewarded due to another team's mistakes. As we speak of mistakes, and that one there, maybe just Gill taking his eye off it long enough and rolls away a couple feet. Good read there at first by DeMartini to advance 90, get into scoring position. But Massey with an opportunity, 2 outs already recorded, just 1 out away from keeping the 2-0 lead and getting his offense back on the offensive side.
Micheletti has the memorable swing this weekend for Virginia Tech, though. It was his grand slam in the 3rd inning of game 1, which was responsible for obviously 4 of only 5 runs in that contest for the Hokies. Now, to your point, just 1 error between the 2 teams thus far in the series. And to your other point, you don't lay it at the Hokies' feet, the strikeout numbers we were talking about a moment ago. A lot of people having trouble making contact against this Wake Forest staff the last few years.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, they're kind of coming into their own. With Virginia Tech and the ACC and across the nation, they knew it was coming. Wake Forest preseason #1. Obviously, they've fallen to 21. Virginia Tech on the other side comes into the season unranked, climbs all the way to 11 to set up this tremendous series amongst the 2 clubs. But Wake Forest leaning more towards that top 10 momentum in what I've seen in games 1 and game 2 versus a team that appears to be falling out of the top 25 prior.
Micheletti will earn a free pass. A couple of walks surrendered by Michael Massey in this bottom half of the 1st inning, and he'll have to face Watson with 2 aboard and 2 down. Yeah, this Wake team, we talked about the 3-4 road record. They were 2-8 against ranked opponents coming into the weekend as well, and had just been swept at the hands of the North Carolina Tar Heels, one of their rivals from Tobacco Road this past weekend, and that happened in Winston-Salem. So this was a team scuffling a bit, as we kind of alluded to earlier. Virginia Tech catching them on a tough time at the schedule because you knew they were going to come out swinging after the way last weekend went.
Well, and that's just ACC baseball, top to bottom. All these teams beating up on one another. You talked about Carolina sweeping Wake at Wake. Carolina then goes on the road to Charlottesville. Know you had an opportunity to be a part of that. UVA puts their best foot forward and wins the series. And now here Wake comes in and says, hey, we got to get back on track against a team like Virginia Tech who's flying high. It doesn't seem like they can almost be beaten. It won every ACC series coming into this one. And now the Hokies are on the back end trying to salvage one. So you never know what you're going to get. ACC in the conference, obviously, arguably the best in the country. And we get to see that week in and week out.
Yeah, no off weekends in this league anymore, that's for sure. And you look at the 2 guys who are locked into the chess match in these respective dugouts. The highly decorated John Sheff, who led his team to that super regional host a couple of years ago and earned all the accolades. And the guy who has the accolades from a year ago after taking his team to Omaha is in the other dugout. One of the reasons it's tough in this league, you got some of the great minds in this game going head-to-head.
That's absolutely right.
Count 1 ball and 2 strikes to Ben Watson. The Pennsylvania native comes into this at bat. You saw his numbers. Hitting .382 on the season. He's a .469 hitter with runners in scoring position, even better than his overall average. And he'll boost that. Dumps one into right field. DeMartini is around, and this gets by all the way to the wall. It is going to at least tie the game. Coasting into third is Watson, and Virginia Tech has answered right back in the bottom of the opening frame.
Well, again, I can't say it enough. This is the entire series in 1 inning now. You take another look here at the cut. 2-strike approach for Watson. He turns on it. Going to be enough for a mound visit here, but take a look here, and this one just gets away from Jack Winnay, and enough speed. That one's going all the way to the wall. So Hokies with some extra bases. DeMartini in to score. Micheletti in to score. And Watson, let's touch on number 10 there for a minute, center fielder for Virginia Tech. He's been a bright spot, been on base a ton in this series. Otherwise a tough offensive performance for the home team, but again, Deacons with 2 in the top half, just like that. Tech answers with 2 in the bottom half. We saw it in game 1. We saw it again last night in game 2, and then it goes quiet. Nothing happens. Let's see if this is that push that Virginia Tech's been looking for, can find a way to get Watson across and to get a lead here in game 3.
Yeah, if you weren't around for the first 2, as you said earlier, here's your microcosm. You're all caught up going into game 3 with what you've seen here in this one. The one thing different here is the miscue. The fielding had been so strong all weekend long. So that working its way by the right fielder, a new wrinkle. And Massey visited now by the Wake staff after it looked like he was going to work his way through the inning. Strikeout, walk, pop out. He followed up by walking Micheletti, and now Watson, who is credited with a single and then the 2-base error, is 90 feet away with the go-ahead run. This is straight up the chute, and it may work Wake out of the inning with the score still tied. Down from first is the guy who made sure the Deacons were on the board in the top of the frame, Kurtz. He has it. And Virginia Tech will leave that runner at third base, but the Hokies plate a pair as well. 2-2 in Blacksburg. As Hokie fans look on, they have embraced the sunshine in this Sunday finale. And boy, has he embraced his role there. Longtime head coach of the Demon Deacons, climbing to the top of the hill to Omaha for the first time since the 50s with this club, that the program had been there a season ago when they last won the World Series. And Tom Walter, you saw just how highly decorated he is, as he will send the bottom third of his order to the plate against Stig. Boy, what this Wake team did with those arms. Rhett Lauder, of course, the headliner a season ago. Just they were the team with the target on their back going into the tournament. Andrew, that team rarely makes it to Omaha in recent years. Wake Forest did so, and they were among the last teams standing out there.
Well, yeah, and that just speaks to the talent and like you said, Tom Walter, what he puts together in that dugout.
Yeah, this is bounced foul. First base side. They've taken a completely unique approach with their pitching clinic, their pitching lab. They've been able to welcome in, and in the portal era, bring over some of the great talent. Then they mix in youngsters like Javar Williams, who is at the plate right now, a highly regarded freshman with a major ceiling. He really has found a way, as you said, to punch all the right buttons and bring the right pieces together there in Winston.
Oh, yeah, and it's always it's a chess match. Oftentimes amongst the game, as you see the walk there, leadoff walk from Stig. But it's also internal, right? And building that roster, the portal, such a big piece of college baseball these days. You take a look at the lineup, Javar Williams, just 1 or 2 freshmen in this lineup. Much older group, a couple sophomores, and then juniors and seniors kind of fill things out. So you got the veteran foundation. If you're Tom Walter and Wake Forest, guys that have been there, played in the big games, experienced the postseason. And that really gives you an edge as you go into these series, as we talked about how competitive the ACC is, and there are no gimme weekends.
Well, and then you can talk a Chase Burns type talent to make the journey over from Rocky Top. That never hurts,
no.
And he's been able to add some of those pieces as well.
Yeah, he was fun to watch.
Ball 1 to Gill out of the 8th spot in the order. Gill back in the lineup for the second time, starting-wise, here in Game 3. He gives this a ride, reaching for the wall, but still well out in front of it is Watson. He's going to catch this just shy of the warning track. And there's the first out of the inning. Well, Stig so far, 24 pitches. He's working with a runner aboard, but he found himself back on even footing thanks to what his offense did in the bottom of the inning.
And that was really important. Again, a series already won by Wake Forest. Virginia Tech trying to find a way. Wake Forest trying to keep all the momentum, and you can feel that tension amongst the two clubs here. Stig finds himself behind, and his offense able to pick him up with a little bit of mishap on the defensive side for Wake Forest. But like you said, even ground here, new ball game, 8 innings to play, and now trying to work out of a leadoff walk to Williams.
A 1 pitch coming to the 9-hole man, Nelson. First things first, they're going to check on Williams. He has swiped 4, been caught just once thus far on the season. You know, you talk about a Wake team looking to replicate their performance from a year ago. This was the time they had to put it together. This is the beginning of a road swing. 3 of their next 4 ACC series on the road. If they didn't find it and find it quick this weekend, it was going to be tough to make a case for being in the mix come postseason time.
Yeah, that's fair. Like you said, on the road, ACC is challenging enough. On the road is even more difficult.
This bunted in the air, going to be handled, and Virginia Tech will turn it into a double play.
A tremendous finish there for Stig. Started with the leadoff walk, found a way to field his position and execute the throw there to first for the double to end it.
It's called a pitcher's best friend. You find out in moments like this just why. Gets Tech out of the inning. Well, he has compared this Virginia Tech team often this season with that 22 squad who hosted the Super Regional, and he has to love the way they've battled back so far. The head man, John Sheff, here in Blacksburg, certainly pleased with what he saw in the bottom of that inning as they answered with 2 of their own in the first.
Yeah, 2 of their own. Then a good job defensively for Stig to work out of that leadoff walk.
Bouncer right side going to be handled by Tellier, and that's the first out of this second inning. Well, Andrew, for Michael Massey, working back from some injury, and they talked about a pitch count of somewhere around 75 today. So you look at where he is now as he has the first quarter century behind him here, 26 pitches to work his way through the first out of the second frame. So for Virginia Tech, as much as they made him work in that first inning, going to make a major difference into how quickly they can get into that bullpen as well.
That's definitely the game within the game. Knowing that pitch count is out there, you want to work these at-bats as deep as you can. Obviously not be too patient. Both teams very aggressive at the plate. Both have been very disciplined as well over the course of the weekend as Cook gets ahead 2-0 in this count.
Cook looking for his first hit as well. He was 0 for 3. Did draw a walk and score a run on Friday in the opener. And he drew a walk again, but was 0 for 2 in Game 2 yesterday. 3-0 spot here, trying to draw another, but he will take a strike as Massey finds the zone. You know, the other piece of that first inning for Virginia Tech, Watson's RBI single, just the 3rd run-scoring hit of the weekend for the Hokies. They're hoping a lot more will come on this Sunday. Will this stay in play third base side? Tailing back, actually, into the grasp of King, and that'll take care of out number 2. Boy, after getting out front 3-0, Cook was hoping for one more chance to swing at it, but it's a quick couple of outs for Massey. Just what the doctor ordered for Massey now after that extended bottom of the first as well.
Yeah, like you said, talking about pitch count, 75 is his target, 31st pitch there, lifted high on the left side, and I really like King's approach. He got all the way to the dugout, made sure he knew where he was going to run out of real estate, and then worked his way back to catch that one instead of just kind of drifting and trailing. And those fielders sometimes find themselves in trouble if you drift. Next thing you know, you've run into the railing, ball's on the ground. Henry Cook sees another pitch. He did a good job to get all the way and then work his way back under that one for out number 2.
That's a great point. Find your boundary and then see what you're working with. Nice play by the Wake Forest third baseman. little bit of an adjustment on the equipment before Clay Grady comes away with a 1-1 look out of that right-hand batter's box. Grady had that only extra base hit of Game 2 yesterday in the 9th inning. He will bounce this out to short. And Houston is waiting. 6-3 put out, and it is a 1-2-3 bounce back frame for Michael Massey and the Demon Deacons. Looked a little different for Wake Forest coming into the weekend, regardless of the outcome today, of how it will look going out of the weekend. That's because the offense has finally come to life here in 2024. When we said the Deacons had scuffled a little bit, Andrew, here are the numbers to back it up.
Yeah, and like you said, big difference a year ago till find themselves where they are now, but finding that success, finding a way to get healthy, pitching solid, take 2 here against Virginia Tech, a team that has been really strong through this 2024 campaign. And they're leaving with at least 2 wins. Obviously looking for the opportunity to sweep today, kind of puts them back on track. I want to touch on that a little bit too. Wake came in with confidence. Obviously they were down, first in the country, falls to 21 coming into this series. But again, everybody knew what they were capable of, that dugout included, and they've done a great job to win 2 here on the road. It kind of went from confidence to almost a little bit of sass. Those guys are playing with a lot of flair, really excited, picking up one another, having fun out here. And that's on the other side, the frustration for Virginia Tech. But Wake Forest feeling good and really nothing standing in their way as they come into Game 3.
Yeah, the first thing you have to do is stop the descent. They fell from 1 to 21, and then you begin the climb. And we certainly are looking at a Wake Forest team that is in the process, it would seem, of doing just that. Tale of 2 seasons you saw on that graphic. It's been a tale of 2 innings so far in this one. We had both teams score a couple of runs in the first and then shut down frames provided by both Stig, who's back out there now for Virginia Tech, and Massey, who did so for Wake Forest in the bottom half. So the reins of this game up for grabs as it's back to the top of the order in Houston. Houston was trying to work his way into double digits with a hitting streak this weekend. Saw that come to a halt earlier in the series. You see his numbers overall on the year. Wake leadoff man came in with just 1 hit in the first 2 games, and he's aboard his first 2 times here. Singled and scored a run in the first, and he draws a free pass to lead off the third.
Oh, we talked about the Tech hitter seeing pitches. Good job there by Houston in his second at bat to work a full count and then ultimately get the free 90 there as he moves down to first base. Stig did the same in the last half, walking Javar Williams, able to work out of that jam with no damage. See what happens here is Adam Tellier steps in.
Tellier now hitting .360 after he laid down that sacrifice effectively in his first inning at bat. This is going to hit him, and there will be 2 aboard just that quickly in the third. Tellier hit by the pitch to begin the AB. So move Houston down to second. And here's how Tellier worked aboard.
Man, take a look. One that just gets away from Stig, enough for pitching coach Ryan Fecto to come out of that dugout in a hurry. 2 pitches Griffin Stig would like back. One that he delivered to the bat of Nick Kurtz in the first for the 2-run lead early before the Hokies were able to answer, and then there the HBP to put 2 aboard with nobody out. And that gentleman we just spoke about, Nick Kurtz, back in the box looking to do more damage in this series.
He's been very pleased. That this staff has been very pleased with what they've seen from Griffin Stig, as pleased as with any of the other weekend starters. And this weekend rotation for Virginia Tech had been very strong coming into this Wake Forest series. You know, this is the first series setback for the Hokies this year. Stig has been one of the reasons for that with the way he's pitched on Sundays.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. We had a chance to speak with Evan Hughes as well before this broadcast, voice of the Hokies for baseball and women's basketball. And like you said, spoke highly of Stig, felt like he was kind of that workhorse, really aggressive, determined, grit, guy that really goes after it in the weight room, in his bullpens, all of his off days, really trying to condition and train well to give himself the best opportunity on Sunday.
This hit well, left center, reaching up, but unable to bring this back is Watson, and they will pour out of that Wake Forest dugout. Second blast of the ball game for the Demon Deacons for guess who? Nick Kurtz with his 4th home run of the weekend. And he has put the Deacons back out front with his 2nd of the day.
That's just unbelievable. We've seen 2 to the right side. We talked about the one in the first inning. As we take another look, really not a terrible pitch. Starting to run down and in on him, but Kurtz gets his hands through the zone. Like I said, first 2 last night and first one here in the inning of this game 3 were to the right side. He shows he's got power going the opposite direction as well, as he puts that over the Eagle sign in left center field.
Wake first baseman now 5 of 9 in the series. And we just shared with you how many of those. The long ball. A 2-run home run from Kurtz in the first inning. A 3-run home run from Kurtz here in the 3rd. And that unfamiliar territory for Griffin Stig that existed simply in pitching in a scenario where his team has dropped the first 2 games this year. As unfamiliar with the way things have started for him atop the mound, giving up 5 runs on 4 hits without an out recorded here in the 3rd inning. Here's Winay. Down to 3rd. DeMartini has just enough time to toss that over, and there's 1 away on a 5-3 putout.
That was really close at first base. Got the call from first base umpire Albert Martinez. DeMartini having to come in on that one, get it across off of 1 foot to Ebel. That's a good answer there from Stig. You just touched on the home run he gave up to Kurtz. The second one of the game for the left-handed hitting Demon Deke to give him the 5-2 lead. But good answer, good quality pitch. Let your defense work behind you. 5-3 put out for out number 1.
Stig, of course, the Virginia native. You know his area very well from a location standpoint. Has an older brother, as many of you know, Drew, who on the baseball squad at George Mason University. And the right-hander wearing Virginia Tech's hopes on this Sunday, finding himself in a hole for a 2nd time. Here's a bounce back as he gets ahead, 1 ball and 2 strikes on Reinisch. Reinisch 0 for 1, flew out to left back in the opening frame. And he'll send it that way one more time. That's turning toward the corner and is going to be off the top of the wall. Reinisch coasting into second base with a stand-up double. He had a double in the opener in addition to his home run on Friday night. And he went 2 for 4 with an RBI yesterday as his first hit on this Sunday, and it's of the extra base variety.
Yeah, another inside out. We just saw Kurtz go that way with the 3-run shot to left center. That one right down the line. Canizero unable to get to it, and the aggressive base running for Wake Forest continues, and that's enough. Coach Sheff has seen enough. And quick call to the pin.
What are those hitters telling you, Andrew, when you see them both go that way in succession?
Well, just not trying to do too much. Ball that's getting in. Stig doing a good job trying to get in on those hands, and both left-handed hitters able to go the opposite way and find a way aboard.
Virginia Tech making the call to the pin with 1 out in the 3rd. We'll introduce you to the new Hokie hurler on the other side. Hokies turning to the hometown product to some degree. The Christiansburg native Brady Kurtner being called upon as the first out of the pen this Sunday.
Oh, yeah, and we talked about Stig, somebody they were going to lean on, but also knew the bullpen was ready and fairly well rested and available. And if you consider games 1 and game 2, take a look at Kurtner's numbers. 4 wins, no losses, 20 strikeouts. The curveball is the go-to pitch, over the top, a lot of break, a lot of spin. We'll see him go to it early and often, if I had to guess here. But again, Virginia Tech, with the 2 losses in game 1 and 2, they did a pretty good job to maintain the bullpen, get a couple guys extended through the middle part of those games. Jacob Exum was tremendous on Friday to keep the home team in it. Yesterday, a couple different arms. Manning stands out as a guy who extended as well. Again, leaves guys like Kurtner available for this game 3. And Unfortunately, if you're Virginia Tech, Griffin Stig not able to go as long as you would have liked, but Kurtner, a guy that can get you into the middle part of this game or even later, depending on pitch count.
Well, he becomes the first out of the pen. Guys, you were alluding to there, Andrew, who is curveball reliant, about half of his pitches falling in that category. And he'll work with a runner at second base, one down, as he takes over after the shortest outing since opening weekend from the Sunday starter, Griffin Stig. Still responsible for the runner, Reinisch, out at second base, who doubled for Wake's 5th hit in the first 3 innings. The 2 big ones, obviously, the blast from Kurtz, a 2-run home run and a 3-run home run. Still responsible for all the scoring for the crew out of Winston-Salem. This is fouled back by King. Now, this portion of the order for Wake Forest, King, as you referenced, having homered last night, Reinisch having homered in game 1, Kurtz having homered out of the 3 spot in the order in every game, and now more than once in this one. The power surge from Wake Forest, the reason for the surge up the standings for the Demon Deacons all of a sudden.
Yeah, absolutely. In this home crowd here, that's something they're expecting from the Hammer and Hokies, but the traveling Deeks are getting it done right now with the long ball.
Well, this is a Virginia Tech team that came in that home run department, pacing the ACC. That's the reason they earned the name Hammer and Hokies. Wake Forest not near the top of the league in that category coming in, but they'll head there with the type of swings we've seen today. Here's a 2-2. That's outside, going to run full.
Well, like you said, Wake Forest and Tom Walter, they're kind of improving all those categories that weren't really where they wanted them to be coming into this series, including wins. Obviously, batting averages are going up. 15 strikeouts, career high for Chase Burns Friday night. On the pitching side of things, they've really got everything working as Kurtner loses his first batter there and Seaver King with the walk. And maybe the only benefit there, if you're Virginia Tech, you had the open base at first base. You now put him in place first and second. You mentioned pitcher's best friend an inning ago, and nothing more for Kurtner here than to try to keep a ball down, let your defense work, turn it over, and get your team back in the dugout and out of this jam.
Looking for that traditional one this go-round as Grady and Martin are back at double play depth. Now, Grady going to come in, have to hold the runner momentarily, and he'll retreat there. If you want those numbers to back up the home run conversation we were having, coming into today, Hokies have hit 63 home runs, pacing the ACC. Wake Forest 7th in the league with 52. You can now make it 54 with the 2 from Kurtz. That's outside. 2 balls and a strike. 91 on the gun, speed check-wise, on this delivery from Brady Kurtner. Javar Williams, quiet weekend for the youngster. Just the 1 hit. Did draw a couple of walks on Friday, and he was 0 for 4 yesterday before walking again in his first at-bat here today. He'll take a strike. Boy, he's a kid that passes the eye test, though, isn't he, when you look at him in the batter's box?
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, a lot of talent, a lot of opportunities, got a lot of years left here in a Wake Forest uniform. Right now, he's just trying to find a way to continue a solid inning, as Wake's already got 3 on the board and 2 on the base paths, with just 1 out recorded here in the top half of the 3rd.
Williams, who is a Massachusetts kid, attended the same high school as former Deke Sean Sullivan, some may remember, who was eventually drafted by the Colorado Rockies. He'll ground this. It is snared and then underhanded to the bag. What a job by Ebel there as he's able to get it to the covering Kurtner for the 2nd out. Runners move up to 2nd and 3rd. You know a little bit about pitcher fielding practice, right? It's on display here.
Well, it's a good job by Kurtner. He's got to come a long way. Ebel, tremendous job to keep that ball in the infield. Even if you don't get an out, you save a run. But even better for Virginia Tech, good pitch, good catch. Kurtner does a good job to break down, pick up the runners at 2nd and 3rd. And if you're Virginia Tech, that's a critical out. But if you're Wake, it's productive as well. Now timely hitting allows you to pick up 2 more runs here and really extend this lead.
That's where PFPs pay off. Here's the first pitch strike to Cook. 83. As again, the off-speed stuff, the braking stuff, that's Brady Kurtner's bread and butter as he gets ahead 0-1. And he got a little bit of a delayed swing, and as a result, this is foul first base side. As Cameron Gill is trying to make his mind up there. Gill flew out to center field in the second inning. He's 0 for 1. Mentioned he started the opener. Back in the starting lineup here for game 3. He's 1 for 3 in the opener.
Well, and I really like that miss there from Kurtner. One thought from a day ago, Virginia Tech pitching did a good job to get ahead in a lot of counts. But then with 2 strikes, even 0-2, really good pitches, giving Wake Forest an opportunity to put them in play. I like that waste pitch there from Brady Kurtner, trusting his catcher.
Well, you can nibble a little bit for sure when you're going to come back with that right there. Gets a swing and a miss, strike 3, leaves a couple of Deacons stranded. But the second blast of the day from Kurtz, putting Wake Forest back out front. It is 5-2 Deeks on the strength of his 4th home run this weekend in Blacksburg. (5-2) Wake Forest, second lead claimed by the Deacons so far in game 3. Deacons trying to sweep. Last time Virginia Tech was swept, closing home weekend of the year against the Tigers of Clemson a season ago. This is the first time Hokies have dropped the series this year. The reason, those numbers. This is a team that was swinging it very well coming into this weekend.
Yeah, they were. Again, the tides have changed here. We talked about Wake and the struggles. They figured it out. Virginia Tech really flying high. But here in this series this weekend have really struggled. Take a look at the numbers and the ranks. Nationally, they have not lived up to any of them. The long ball not in play. We've seen that from Wake Forest instead. Runs per game. They've put up enough to be competitive in the first 2, dropping both by 3. But here they're going to have to find a way to get going. Steal some of this momentum back from Wake Forest.
Plenty of time for the Hammer and Hokies to come to life. Remember, in the series last year in Winston-Salem, Wake took the first 2, 6-3 and 7-5. Virginia Tech battled back to win it 14-6 in the finale. Guy at the plate was one of the reasons he homered in that finale in Winston. He will fly out to center field here as Martin is retired. You go back to that game, that finale from a year ago. It was Carson Jones' grand slam and then Martin's home run, both in the 6th inning, which served as the catalyst for that 14-6 win in Winston. Interestingly enough, the last 2 series against Wake, both there in Winston last year and here at home in 2024, because of what Eddie Micheletti did on Friday night, Hokies have hit a grand slam in each of the last 2 series against Wake Forest, but neither of those series going Virginia Tech's way as they look to salvage today. With Martin retired, here is DeMartini out of the 2 spot. He walked and scored a run in the 1st inning. Over the top of this, make it 2 balls and a strike. Hokies have not, or had not, I should say, dropped a series here at home to Wake Forest since 2016. So it had been a while since Wake Forest had success in Blacksburg. But a modest 3-game streak now in effect for Wake. This one of the reasons there is a second punch out from Michael Massey and a 32nd on the weekend for the Wake Forest staff. You look a little angry about it. Slammed that rosin bag down atop the hill.
Well, again, that's something I'm keeping an eye on. I talked about Wake Forest coming in with their struggles. We've touched on a ton, but they were still confident. They knew they had a good club. They've now shown their confidence, and then you see that reaction from Massey. We saw that from Burns a lot. We've seen that for some of these hitters as they've been able to put the balls in play, plenty over the wall now for Wake, and what's kind of been the difference in this series. And they're not just playing with confidence, they're fired up, and they putting the pressure in the third base dugout, this home team, to say, hey, you got to hit me, you got to find a way to climb back in, and otherwise this is our ball game, our series, and they're feeling good.
Yeah, all joking aside, a lot of energy there from Michael Massey on display as he gets that key punch out, trying to continue to quiet the top portion of this order. You think about today, a combined to this point 0 for 4 for the combo of Martin, DiMartini, and Cannizzaro. And Martin 0 for 5 in the opener, 0 for 3 yesterday. Cannizzaro, who's at the plate now, 0 for 3 in the opener, just the one hit in yesterday's contest. So when you want to talk about those numbers being a little down for Virginia Tech, it's this portion of the order that Wake has controlled. They will do so again as Cannizzaro is struck out, the tag made by Gill for good measure. 3 are in the books in Blacksburg, 3 the lead for a Demon Deacons looking for 3 wins this weekend. A welcome day game after a couple of chilly night contests. And it's lunchtime. Young Hokies fans around the ballpark enjoying all that a day at English provides. As we work our way into the top half of the 4th inning, got to bring the leather to the yard, right, Andrew?
Yeah.
Nothing positive going to happen for you until you make sure you have the leather with you.
Yeah, that's right. This is it's a great park. Good place to catch a game. Good turnout again. It's been a good turnout all weekend. We talked about the nationally ranked series for both of these clubs coming in, and you see the fans coming to enjoy some sun in addition to baseball today. But if you're Wake Forest, the theme remains the same. 3-run deficit for Virginia Tech. 2 3-run losses in Game 1 and Game 2. Wake finally has an opportunity to really pull away and put away Virginia Tech. On the other side, if you're Kurtner, as he gets that pop-up to the left side and Cannizzaro camped under it, some team wants to stay in this one and try to give this crowd something to cheer about.
Nelson retired on the fly out to left field, and that's an out of the leadoff batter for the first time in the ball game. Gave up a single to Houston, gave up a walk to Williams, surrendered a walk to Houston the second time around, leading off an inning back in the 3rd. So there's at least the start to the inning the Hokies are looking for the first time. Here is Houston again, batting for the 3rd time today. He has scored a run each of his first 2 trips just because he happened to be on base when Nick Kurtz came to the plate. As he has, if you weren't with us for the beginning stages of this one, driven 2 out of the yard today, Kurtz already. Yeah, you saw some of the great sights and sounds from this ballpark coming back from break. We referenced those kids with the gloves down there. This is a great place down the left field line. You got plenty of room to play catch and make a day of it. Stay dialed in when the big moments happen.
Yeah, it's beautiful. You take a look there, third baseline, left field line, and like you said, that terrace that they've implemented, which was previously just a rolling hill down to the field, and then down the other side you got the patio seating where some fans have gotten comfortable down there behind first base. Good seating behind, some premier seating above the Wake Forest dugout on the right side as well. So a little bit of everything. Facilities tremendously improved over the years here in Blacksburg and for this Virginia Tech program.
36th season in this ballpark. Named for E.R. English, former football standout in the 30s who gave over 5 decades of his life to Virginia Tech athletics. They opened it up in March 22nd, to be specific, 1989. It's been turf since 2012. Bright lights put in use the last couple of night games, and that turf changed over this season here at English to freshen everything up. It's certainly one of the fine facilities for baseball anywhere in the country. As the delivery's coming from Kurtner. Houston going to put this in play right side. That's winding and going to land atop the tent out of play. 3-2 count to the leadoff man in the batting order, Marek Houston, who has been that today, reaching both times.
Well, you touched on that first time getting that leader out, Cam Nelson in the 9 spot here to start the 4th. How important, you go back to the last half and the walk to Houston in his second at bat and then the hit by pitch. That home run off the bat of Nick Kurtz doesn't hurt you a whole lot. As this one's lifted, should be an easy one for Watson in center for out number 2. But Kurtz hits that home run. You can live with it on a solo shot. Unfortunately, it follows that walk and that hit by pitch. Now you got 3 runs on the board, and that seems to be that deficit again that Virginia Tech's kind of been hanging over their head for 20-plus innings now as we work into the middle part of this Game 3. So good job by Kurtner to kind of flip the script there, get the F7 for out number 1, now an F8 for out number 2, and here's an opportunity against Tellier for the clean inning.
Tellier, as Andrew referenced, hit by the pitch and came around to score on the home run in the third. He laid down that sacrifice which set the stage back in the first inning. So he officially has not batted in the ball game, and his average holds steady at 360. 5 runs on 5 hits for the Deacons, the 2 big ones, those from the guy on deck that Andrew also walked you through. 1 error on the board for the Deacons, and it contributed to the Hokies' 2-run first inning. Just 2 runs on a single hit for Virginia Tech thus far. On a much more comfortable day at the ballpark, top of the 4th. That is right up the elevator shaft, and coming down in between the pitching rubber and home plate to call everybody off is DeMartini. He makes the play. How about that? A 1-2-3 frame for Brady Kurtner as the Hokies look to claw back from a 3-run deficit mid-4th. Well, we've reached the midway point of the college baseball season. It's worth comparing the projections, which you see on the screen right now, with where things actually sit in the ACC standings, which you will see momentarily. As Micheletti leads things off, he'll be followed by Watson and Ebel in the Virginia Tech 4th. So you saw Wake atop the division after coming into the year number 1 in the country, now 21st and trying to climb. And Virginia Tech entered this weekend tied with North Carolina atop the Coastal as well.
Yeah, you see Carolina climb for the first time. On that side of things, Virginia Tech shows how important this win is here to salvage a series and a victory. Take a look ahead, too. You mentioned Wake on the road for many of their in-conference games, as that one's going to get down, actually. Micheletti hustling into second base, and is that the break the home team's looking for? That ball looked like it was going to stay up there, maybe a routine catch for Cam Nelson out in center, but just kept tailing away, and in no man's land for a leadoff double.
Well, it took until the 9th inning yesterday with Grady for Virginia Tech to come away with an extra base hit. And you just witnessed the 4th of the weekend in full for Virginia Tech, and it's just what the Hokies were hoping for to ignite this 4th inning. Micheletti, who had the grand slam on Friday, was 1 for 5, though he did strike out 3 times, still came away with at least a hit in that game yesterday. Has a base knock in each of the 3 games this weekend, and he has set the stage for Ben Watson. Watson, you'll remember, had the RBI single that turned into a 3-bagger last time around, and he is 2 for 2. Hokies going to wave the runner, see if he can drive in another, but the throw is true, and Micheletti is out at the plate. An assist for Nelson in center field as the Deacons cut down that potential 3rd run of the ball game for Virginia Tech.
Well, just a great play all the way around. See Nelson picking it up, ball's on the money. 1 hop to Gill. Micheletti not yet to the plate. Gill does a good job to apply the tag, make sure he holds onto that ball. Good job by Watson there, 2nd time. Reaching aboard safely, looked like he was going to pick himself up an RBI. Coach Elpin being aggressive down at 3rd base, trying to get that 3rd run on the board and cut into this deficit, but hats off to Cam Nelson. Tremendous play from the center fielder.
Well, you know, it was pitching and defense a year ago for Wake Forest, right? We talked about the expectations coming into the new season with what we showed you ACC-wise. And there's that defense again for Wake Forest, making its difference behind this talented pitching staff. So a run turned aside and an out on the board. It's now 1 down, Watson at first, and here's Ebel, who is 0 for 1 after fouling out first base side. A pop foul his last time up. You know, you talk ACC a little bit, Andrew. 8 teams in the top 25 this week. You take the ACC and the SEC, all but 7 spots in the top 25 are covered by those 2 leagues this week. Nobody higher than the Clemson Tigers at number 2. Wake, though, they were number 1 preseason, bringing up the caboose of that group at 21st in the country. Duke, North Carolina, Virginia Tech, Florida State, Virginia, and NC State alongside those Clemson and Wake programs, all ranked in the middle part of the season. 7 of them top 25 in RPI. I mean, the league so very strong. Here's a liner into right. 2 are down in the inning. You know, they're talking 9 potential regional teams from the ACC right now, and as many as 5 hosts from the ACC right now. And that's with Wake Forest, who was the preseason number 1, not really in a lot of that conversation to begin with this year.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We've touched on it, the competitive nature of the league, and many of those names that you mentioned, you think about looking ahead for both clubs. Like I said, you touched on Wake being on the road for a while. Virginia Tech's got to play Duke, UVA. They'll go to Georgia Tech next weekend. But they've got a tough slate ahead as they round out the ACC and look forward to tournament play. It's crazy to think we're talking about halfway through already. It feels like the season just started, but it'll also wind down quickly. We talked about every weekend being a challenge, and amongst those ranked teams, Virginia Tech's got their work cut out for them as they look ahead in ACC play.
Well, it didn't mention a Notre Dame team that is 27th in RPI coming into this week. And that's a team the Hokies swept earlier in the year. So you talk about the strength of the league top to bottom and how tough it is to win at home. Hokies were 13-4 coming into this weekend. Clemson at 18-1. Tar Heels are 20-0 in Chapel Hill as they get set to return there. It's tough to win in this league, tough to win on the road. Speaks to what Wake has done this weekend. No man's land. That will drop as they will be on the corners for the Hokies with 2 down. Not done yet in the bottom of the 4th as this one had eyes.
Yeah, it did. Just blooped into left field. McCann unable to get extended, but enough power to push it over the shortstop's head. No opportunity for the outfielders to get to that one. If you're Virginia Tech and Coach Elbman, you want that base runner back now with that one getting down. But, you know, I appreciate the gesture and the move there from Coach Elbman. We've talked about it. Virginia Tech is looking for that bright spot, something to get this crowd back in it, something to wake the dugout up, something to get Wake on their heels just a little bit. And I think you got to send that guy there. I know it didn't work out in their favor, but Coach Elbman being aggressive, trying to find a way to claw back in, and they still have an opportunity in this frame with 2 aboard, 2 outs, and a really good bat and Henry Cook coming to the plate.
Hokies is referenced, not done yet in the inning. They are on the corners, and the entire infield gathering up for the Demon Deacons to talk about it. We talked about offense this weekend. One more note as we've had the ACC conversation during this 4th inning. It's an offensive league, leading the country in batting average at .308, and there have been 3,330-plus runs scored on the season by ACC teams, which also leads the country entering the weekend. So good luck holding down these offenses for long up and down the rosters in the ACC. Let's see if Virginia Tech can provide a little more offense here as they have Cook at the plate with 2 down and 2 aboard. Swings over top of the first offering. 0-1 start. You know, Michael Massey, remember, it was talked about that 75 was going to be the threshold for him pitch-wise. He's up over 60 now as he tries to escape the remaining jam here in the bottom of the 4th. This is well out of play down that right field side. How about 3,300-plus runs and an average as a league now, a batting average over 300 as an entire league to pace everybody in the country.
Well, and that's impressive. We keep talking about them beating on one another, whether it's Wake or the likes of UVA, Florida State, Clemson, Virginia Tech. But ACC collectively as a whole should be pretty proud, representing well. I mentioned the SEC, obviously that other conference we talk about a lot. Those are really good numbers and makes you not want to be a pitcher in this conference.
In this league, not right now. You know, certainly with the way the wind's blown out lately so many places as well. But they've won 83% of their non-conference games this season. The league 187-39 against everybody else. So that's a really good showing because those are the games you're going to have to win come postseason time. Here's a 1-2 pitch to Cook, and it's high. Well, what can you say about the job Cameron Gill did just a moment ago to keep that runner at third, keeping that in front. Now, McCann's going to take second base, and a base hit now would mean a one-run ball game if it's well placed from Cook.
Well, 2 strike, 2 out hitting. See what happens here. Good matchup. Massey Cook.
Count will run full, and on cue, Gill earns his keep one more time.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's the backstop again. Great job by Cameron Gill. Michael Massey able to rely on his catcher here to see if he can get Cook to chase, knowing the ball's going to stay in front. Really good job by the Wake catcher to keep those runners at second and third, but big pitch coming here in this ball game.
3-2 is outside ball 4. Cameron Gill tried to frame it, and it will be a bases loaded scenario. Now, Cameron Gill, the battery mate for Massey, he came over from Wofford College in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Todd Interdonato, who's now the head man at Boston College, was his head coach before taking the job just to continue some of those ACC ties. But he's been quite a find because handling this pitching staff for Wake Forest, as critical as any other role you could have as a part of this unit, and he's done it well. But he and the Deacons right now backed against the wall. Bases are loaded for Grady, who had the big extra base hit in the 9th yesterday. What this would mean to Virginia Tech if he comes through here. Fouls off the first.
Well, and you can tell aggressive. Grady going right after it. First pitch there. Hokies found themselves in a similar position yesterday. Trying to answer, loaded him up, got a couple across, but left him loaded to finish that inning. Grady looking for a different outcome here in game 3.
He'll have one. Singles into right field. It'll mean 1 run. Here comes the trailing runner, and for the second time in the inning, the Hokies will have a run cut down at the plate. Virginia Tech limited to just a single run, it would seem. They may look at this. Coach Sheff quickly up out of that third base dugout to ask the umpiring crew. You know, you almost have to challenge this, Andrew, just based upon the scenario that's in effect with the bases loaded. Not only does it mean a run, but you still have another crack at it in this 4th as well. As it stands right now, it is 5-3, and the final out was recorded at the plate. They will have to see enough video evidence to overturn that to keep Virginia Tech's inning going.
Yeah, again, you see the aggressive nature of Coach Elbin. I agree with you. It's got to be something that Virginia Tech looks at. Looked like a clear out at the plate, but a little bit of momentum, opportunity, not only another run instead of a third out, but a chance for the lineup to turn over and Christian Martin. See Jack Winnay here in right field, comes up throwing. A ball definitely beats him. Looks like a tag on the belt backside before the left hand crosses the plate. But to your point, similar situation last night. Here's a really good look at it. And he's out. But worth looking at. It's either inning ending or it's an opportunity to keep your offense on the field. Had to play at second base, bang, bang. Seeing if the mitt got in or if Tellier at second base maybe stepped on it first. And here's that same scenario. End of inning or a chance to keep things going. Again, Tech's got to find a way. You heard the crowd starting to get into it a little bit. The dugout waking up. The bats maybe as well, as they're able to put a couple in play there. Had the bases loaded. And, again, Coach Elbin being super aggressive, making those outfielders make the throw. And give credit to Cam Nelson and Jack Winnay. 2 on the money to the catcher Gill and an opportunity for an out at the plate.
Gill showing his earning his keep again, as we talked about. Remember, he saved a couple of runs by stopping potential wild pitches earlier in this inning. And he's been in a receiving position and applied the tag twice to get the job done as a battery mate for Massey, who's just trying to stay loose by tossing while we wait on the final verdict. Yeah, anytime there's a run on the board on the line, you almost have to go ahead and take another look at it, and that's what Virginia Tech has asked this umpiring crew to do. 1 run in on 3 hits in the inning. The question, will it be more than that? You know, Michael Massey had retired 7 consecutive beginning the inning since Ben Watson's RBI single earlier in the game. And though he gives up a run here in this inning, the call will stand and the inning comes to a close. So a couple of runners thrown out at the plate by the combo of Nelson and Winnay limits the damage to a single run in the bottom of the fourth. Nick Kurtz being as advertised this weekend in Blacksburg. 7 of his 10 home runs have come in the last 8 days. And in each of the last 3 days, he has homered at least once, twice here today, including that Oppo shot, Andrew.
Yeah, I saw a lot of, to your point, Oppo, saw a lot of pull, everything towards the scoreboard for Kurtz, but then he showed that Oppo power going the other way. So the lefty's seeing it really well, and I was wondering if we might see that. Hokies get a run back, and as Kurtz comes back, and he's been a tough out. So there's the intentional walk to put him on, and it's as if it was the first 3 innings where the Hokies were working with nobody out and someone aboard, but I kind of like that move if you're Coach Sheff in Virginia Tech, a guy that's been beating you at the plate.
Keep in mind, his home run yesterday was in his final at bat. So he has homered in each of his last 3 plate appearances prior to being intentionally walked to start the inning fresh with someone else at the plate. That someone else is Winay, as Kurtz is aboard for the 10th time this series. So the 10th time that he has either worked to first base or he has touched them all on his way back home, as Winay fouls this back. But yeah, after 3 consecutive home runs wrapping over from last night, Virginia Tech said, "Thank you, sir. We'll go ahead and award you that."
Well, and it was the righty-lefty matchup. You get back to righty-righty here and Jack Winay at the plate. So you got to work around that runner and out of the stretch if you're Kurtner. But Kurtner, a guy with a lot of life left out of the pen for Virginia Tech, who replaced Griffin Stig early in this ball game. So we'll see who it favors here in the end, if Wake Forest is able to take advantage of the free 90, or if strategy pays off for Coach Sheff and Virginia Tech and Kurtner able to work out with the leadoff man aboard.
Well, the last thing you want to do is take whatever momentum Virginia Tech grabbed by scoring in the bottom of the fourth and hand it right back to Wake Forest on one Kurtz swing with the way he's seeing the baseball right now. And I know Hokie fans have to be, Andrew, coming off of that bottom of the fourth thinking about what might have been with a couple of other runs potentially there for the taking. But they are starting to chip away here in the middle frames.
Yeah, they're able to even up in the hit column, both with 5 now. Virginia Tech putting the ball in play, getting on base. Kurtner gets the call on that 3-1 count.
Winay, a little backward skip as he's finding out he has to hang in there for a 3-2 pitch that'll be coming. 90 on the gun and painting the black that time around from Kurtner. Here's his payoff pitch. Downstairs, 2 aboard with no one out. The intentional free pass to Kurtz, and now a walk on a 3-2 offering to Winay.
Oh, and that's the risk there of putting that first guy on. I thought that pitch was maybe a little more quality than the pitch prior. Winay didn't think the 3-1 pitch was a strike. Virginia Tech gets the call, and then Kurtner quality pitch, but does not get it there to put that second one on. And I think you touched on something very important now with Wake in business, 2 aboard, nobody out. This is almost as if Hokies had a breakout inning, and instead of that one that you see on the board is that one's going to tail foul. It's almost as if they put up a 6, 7, or 8 spot and you want to come out as a pitcher and have that shutdown inning. This is almost a must shutdown inning to keep any momentum the Hokies might have here in this ball game.
Well, tough hitter at the plate in Reinisch, who doubled his last time up back in the 3rd inning. Notched his 9th double of the season among his 37 hits this year. Backing up in center field just a few steps is Watson. Runner will tag from second. And both runners, in fact, move up as Winay, with the throw coming into third, will now be in scoring position as well. So it is a productive out from Reinisch as he moves to in scoring position for Wake.
Very productive out. Ball traveled a good bit. If I'm Virginia Tech and Coach Sheff, I want to see that ball coming into second base from Ben Watson. Keep it first and third. Double play intact. But to your point, very productive as Watson tries to get the lead runner there. Not retaining Winay at first base. Now a base open.
First pitch squared up but well foul by Seaver King. As you look at King's day thus far, He did draw a walk in the third inning, and the average at 290 after an 0-for-1 start. Swings right through this offering and falls behind 0-2. King looking for a raise in his RBI total, which right now sits at 32 on the year.
Well, and again, let's see if Kurtner wastes. Don't want to be too pretty. 0-2. 2 runners aboard. That's a good job there to waste one. Trust your backstop and Henry Cook to keep that in front. Still way ahead. Again, 2 runners in scoring position. Way ahead in this count, 1-2. If you're Virginia Tech, hoping Kurtner's not too fine here. Live off the edge. See if you can get King to chase one.
The Athens native who came over from Wingate, staying in the state of North Carolina after transferring, awaits a 1-2. And he will ground this to second. A little bit of trouble gathering it up initially, but a recovery in time to get the out at first. Kurtz comes on home to score, and Wake Forest does at least snatch that single run right back to reestablish the advantage at 3.
3 seems to be a number that's haunting the Hokies. They've been chasing 3. They've lost by 3 twice. They were down 5-2, chipping away 5-3. Chance for a few more with really good assists from the outfield on 2 outs in the last half. You don't get either of those, you got a tie ball game. But just as the Hokies get within 2, even with those plays at the plate, Wake does a great job to answer, and that intentional walk comes back to hurt Virginia Tech.
Well, that picture's worth 1,000 words as you see the reaction from the Virginia Tech coaching staff. Yeah, an 8-5 final on Friday, a 6-3 final yesterday, and a 3-run deficit again here today. And Virginia Tech led 1-0 in the opener. Wake 3-1 at the middle of the third. Virginia Tech put together a 4-spot in the third, took a 5-3 lead, only to see Wake score 5 in the fourth, and that set things at 8-5 in that opener. That's the back and forth nature of the early stages of that one. Another fouled off at the plate. Then, of course, yesterday, combined 5 runs in the second inning. It was 3-2 Wake. They would tack on 2 in the fifth. Both teams scored a run in the ninth, and that set the final at 6-3. Here, both teams with a couple of runs in the first inning. A second home run, a 3-run shot from Kurtz in the third. He's walked here in the fifth after the Hokies grabbed a run in the bottom of the fourth and has scored. Still a runner at third. And that's the journey through this series thus far for you, as a big run is looming there 90 feet away, Andrew.
Big run at third, and everything that you just touched on. It's been Hokies that early lead in game 1, but Wake comes right back with an answer. From that point forward, it's kind of been that common ground or Hokies chasing, as Kurtner gets the 4-3 put out to get out of it, and damage control leaving that runner 90 feet away. But Virginia Tech gets one in the bottom half. Wake Forest comes back with an answer in the top half. And here we are, 6-3, heading bottom half of the fifth.
Well, a good time to go make sure you're fueled up as we work through the middle innings of the finale between Virginia Tech and Wake Forest. Still a tight one, 6-3 our score. And Wake Forest going to the pen for the first time after 69 pitches were thrown by the starter, Massey. They turn to an in-state product to the Deacons. Hayden LeFew out of Kannapolis, as you get a glance at his numbers on the year.
I see the 20 innings of work, 2-0 record. Lefty going to come in, try to pick up where Michael Massey left off. We talked about his pitch count at 75. Finished with 69 on the day after the review of the play at the plate to end the last half. And like you said, the freshman now trying to move this into the latter part, see if they can get into the bullpen to some of their reliable relievers and closers. But Virginia Tech, after giving up that run in the top half, chasing that daunting number 3 again, as Christian Martin steps in for the 3rd time today, and Hokies find themselves at the top of the order.
Trying to get the leadoff man going. He has struck out and flown out, is 0 for 2 in this game. And if you weren't with us for those games we walked you through over the weekend, or weren't with the Hokies and the Deacons, that is, he is still looking for his first hit of the series through his first 10 at-bats. and was, as Andrew told you in the early stages of this one, moved around in the lineup a little bit for game 2, found his way back to the top of the order here in game 3, starting an inning clean, which is a scenario in which, interestingly enough, Martin hits .535 on the year when he leads off an inning. Even better than his .308 average overall. But trying to set the table for the first time today in that fashion. He'll take it's 2-2. Seeing a new arm as the southpaw is now atop the mound for the Deeks. Pitch buried, and count 3-2 to the first man faced by Hayden LeFew. South Rowan High School in Kannapolis for the freshman. Grounded towards short. Be fairly routine for Houston. Requires a little bit of a stretch from Kurtz. And there is one gone. LeFew, a guy who participated in the 23 MLB Draft Combine. He set the county record in strikeouts. And you know that's right there north of Charlotte, so a baseball-rich location. Had 128 strikeouts in 70 innings as a junior and helped his team capture their first state title in any sport in the school's history during his prep career. Gets a pop-up here and is able to secure a couple of quick outs as DeMartini is retired, with Tellier backing up to make the catch. So here's a highly decorated young pitcher taking advantage of the Wake pitching lab and coming on as the first out of the pen on this Sunday. So far, so good through a couple of tough hitters, Andrew.
So far, so good. And with the 3-run lead, you're able to go right after these hitters, even Martin and DeMartini at the top of the order. See, Coach Elbin's going to slow this half inning down. It's been another theme we've talked about a ton. As these pitchers for Wake Forest have gotten in a groove and a really good rhythm, they've cruised through some of these half innings, really shortening the opportunity for the opposing pitcher, in this case Kurtner, for Virginia Tech to really get any rest. So that visit there was just a, hey, let's take a deep breath, make this lefty think about it a little bit. Those were 2 quick outs. Cannizzaro going to now try to break up the clean inning.
Well, and trying to, not to belabor the point, but you know it's going to happen for this group sooner or later. Breakthrough out of that top third of the order for the first time. He too 0 for 2, having popped out and struck out. And you know, you look at the averages, up over 300 for Martin, 365 the real-time average, even with a tough start to the day for Cannizzaro. So the production has been there out of this portion of the order. Just trying to find a way to jumpstart things with a 3-run deficit in effect in the middle stages today. Clenched fist of our home plate umpire for a called strike makes it 1-2. LeFew, a guy from a athletic family. Dad played football at Catawba College there in the state of North Carolina. Got a little bit of that build, does the southpaw, as he sees this fouled off first base side. You can get the sense, and you've talked about it a couple of times today, this is a fan base ready to get rolling, just waiting for something to happen to push their team out front that they can celebrate on this day. They're on the edge of their seats, that's for sure.
Yeah, they're hanging around, enjoying the sun. They didn't have an opportunity to do yesterday or the day prior, but they're looking for a little more to cheer about.
Are you ready for this? 30s and windy on Friday. 40s and another night game yesterday. Result the same the first 2, and Wake Forest trending toward another perhaps. That'll make the 3-run lead stick through 5. Well, another 3-run lead in effect for Wake Forest as we push forward into the 6th inning. Damon Deacons with most of the runs, once again coming home on Nick Kurtz blast today. Hasn't dampened their spirits a bit. You saw Hokies fans still enjoying themselves, and those who've made the trip up from Winston-Salem, well, they got to be talking about the fact that this was the team they were expecting to see all season long, Andrew.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Kind of coming to form here. Wake doing it all right. Just the one blemish, which are the runs in the first, at least the second one, the one error for Wake. Clean baseball, nobody really putting anyone away. Wake able to hang on, trying to hold on here one more time in game 3. Kurtner, the right-hander, as he evens up 1-1, has done a great job out of the bullpen. Definitely one highlight for Virginia Tech. The offense is what everyone has talked about nationally if you're Virginia Tech, but the pitching, again, they've been good enough to win a couple games here. Bullpen's done enough to keep their team in it. And Kurtner continuing that trend here as he gets ahead 1-2.
I thought Cameron Gill was going to put you to work right there. That didn't miss the booth by much.
That was close. That was close.
We're counting on you in here now.
Didn't bring the leather, but would have given it a shot.
1 ball and 2 strikes on Cam Gill. Mentioned the Alpharetta, Georgia native, is a Wofford transfer. He's a guy who, in that Louisville series, had a double off the left field wall, 2 for 3. Stolen base as a catcher in a series clincher against the Cards. And also helped pick up a win at Virginia earlier in the year, did Gill. He's going to put a charge into this left field, going to be handled by Canizero out there, and Gill is retired. Boy, his value is so much more than just what he does at the plate. Couple of big series that he impacted offensively, but every time you see him, you're reminded of what a valuable piece he is, with Wake relying so heavily upon their pitching staff.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You got to have someone to receive and be prepared for the different arms and the different angles and what's coming at you. We've seen him here in this game working as well and keeping a few runners in place on balls that sometimes may get away. So that backstop's truly important. And Cameron Gill, a guy for Wake that they lean on heavily.
Nelson, as we said, looking for his first base knock here out of the 9th spot in the Wake Forest order. But he had a 2-hit game, the first of his career, in the series finale against North Carolina last weekend in Winston. Tale of 2 weekends, Wake Forest swept by the Tar Heels, now ranked 10th in the country, last weekend at home, and taking the show on the road, looking to do just that against the Hokies, trying to sweep Virginia Tech. First time that will have happened to a Virginia Tech team that has dropped its initial series of the year this weekend. And Nelson, he's the only guy that is a two-way player on the Wake roster this year, something Deacons have been known for in recent editions of their baseball campaigns. He's the only guy that will both pitch and hit among those on the Wake roster this season. Also has a pretty good arm out there on display for that pitching, right? He's the guy in center field that cut down that run, one of the 2 runs cut down at the plate a little earlier in the game. He's taken care of here, though, swinging right through a 2-2 offering and back-to-back punch-outs. Boy, this is the type of response that Virginia Tech was needing from Brady Kurtner.
Yeah, take a look there. That's big swing there from Nelson with 2 strikes, unable to connect. Kurtner winning the battle. Kurtner now looking at his second opportunity here to go in order, as he did so back in the 4th. And out away from getting his offense to the plate. You know, again, we continue to talk about it. Virginia Tech just trying to find that bright spot, whether it's a leadoff guy aboard or maybe a big fly known for the long ball. Haven't done it much here this weekend. We talked about Micheletti in the Grand Slam, but Kurtner keeping these hitters at bay, trying to slow Wake down, hold them at 6. Hits still even at 5 apiece for both clubs. And Virginia Tech with 4 frames left as they chase this one here and try to salvage the series.
Houston, who has reached base 2 of the 3 times he has been up. Had a single in the first, and he walked in the 3rd, scored both times on home runs from Kurtz, the Florida native. He is awaiting a 2-1 with 2 down. Kurtz, who's gone 5 earlier in the year, is trying to work through 3 2/3, get Virginia Tech back in the dugout in the bottom of the 6th to get it jump started. They will have, you mentioned Micheletti. He'll lead it off, followed by Watson and Ebel in the bottom of the 6th inning. Hit column even, but the hits have been a little louder and a little more impactful to the scoreboard on the Wake Forest side as they lead at 6-3. There you see it. Just 5 apiece for the 2 teams in that hit column. Payoff pitch coming with 2 down. Houston puts it in play, backing up on it. And a strong arm. Once again on display from DeMartini. Across the diamond it goes, and there it is. A second 1-2-3 inning since Brady Kirtner came on, and he will work it to those 4, 5, 6 hitters. Due up after the break. Eddie Micheletti's 10th home run in a Hokies uniform. A grand slam on Friday night. Still the loudest swing for the Hokies this weekend.
That's the swing they're going to be looking for a couple more times in these final 4 frames if they're going to give themselves a chance to climb back into this and maybe stun Wake at this point, as Wake is sitting here with the 3-run lead, trying to hang on as they were able to do yesterday and Friday evening as well. But Micheletti and Watson, maybe the 2 bright spots in this lineup in terms of this weekend on the offensive side for Virginia Tech, and they'll face the lefty Hayden LeFew here as he's able to get the first one over for strike 1.
LeFew faced the minimum in his first inning of work out of the Wake Forest pen a frame ago. Micheletti's not been retired out of the cleanup spot today. He walked and scored a run in the first inning, that 2-run first for Virginia Tech, and he doubled in the 4th inning. He'll take a strike here to run it to 1-2. Micheletti, when he leads off an inning, gaudy batting average, .630 on the season. They'll try to boost that here, as well as his .337 average overall. Here's a guy who hit 6 home runs last year at GW. And just 1 home run in 2022. And he's a double-digit home run guy in the heart of this Hokies order. So that's going to the portal and certainly getting exactly what you hoped for and bargained for. One of the things you talk to this Virginia Tech coaching staff about, they have found a way to discover those diamonds in the rough and hone their skills in recent years.
Yeah, they have, and you see that a lot across college baseball, right? A lot of D2 guys, a lot of JUCO guys find their way, come to arguably the most talented conference in the ACC, and step right in and play for the likes of Wake Forest, Virginia Tech. That's a good at-bat there. He was really frustrated with the strike 2 call. Put him way behind 1-2. Able to foul a few, extend the at-bat, see good pitches, lay off those that weren't there. And that might be the leader that they need just to find a way to put a few aboard. Again, just put a little bit of pressure back on Wake Forest. Wake Forest has all the energy, all the motivation, all the confidence. If Virginia Tech can even put a little pressure on them, should make for a pretty good finish here, as we've made it to the bottom of the 6th.
Well, he forced LeFew to throw 7 pitches. That's something. And then has drawn his 2nd walk of the day. This one always important, of the leadoff variety. And you referenced during the break, Watson has been among the bright spots today as well for Virginia Tech. Twice up, twice base knocks, one of the RBI variety in the 1st, and one after which he scored in the 4th. So every time he has either produced a run or scored a run after working his way aboard.
Well, and if you're Coach Chef, you want to see that continue right here. Micheletti does his job to find a way aboard. That's a good pitch, outer half. Crowd doesn't like it, but you see the lefty-lefty matchups. Micheletti just an at-bat to go, and now Watson. Good job there by LeFew. I thought that was a good firm fastball, outer half. And now Watson behind 1-2.
He'll punch this left side, but a diving stab to secure the out by King. Well timed by the Wake Forest third baseman.
That's a great play there by number 5. Looked like a ball that might be just enough to get in the 5-6 hole, and see kind of a late break, but good concentration and a good job to hold on to that one. You see he comes up looking for a chance to throw behind Micheletti in the double play at first, but Micheletti retreats, 1 out retired, 1 aboard.
Just the 2nd time Virginia Tech has worked with a leadoff base runner in the ball game. It's followed up by the liner that, as you said, Andrew, didn't miss much, working its way into left field. So Hebel's going to have to do something with 1 down. He'll turn out of the way on a pitch inside, but a double in the 4th that ended up being a run-scoring inning, though the Hokies were limited to just a single run. The only other time that the leadoff man was aboard. You credit Wake Forest today. Struck out Martin to begin the first, got a ground out to begin the second, got a fly out to begin the third, and a ground out to begin the fifth. So they've limited the chance to set up the big inning today.
Well, and what are we chasing? If you're Virginia Tech, you're chasing 3 here, and you've got 2 home runs for Kurtz, but the second one is the difference in the ball game. Is it was a walk and a hit by pitch. Again, a solo shot's a different beast. Now you got a 4-3 ball game, right? Instead, you give up the free pass with the walk, the free pass with the hit batsman, and then a ball lifted, and we find ourselves again after a 3-run loss in game 1 for Virginia Tech, a 3-run loss in game 2, and that 3 staring them in the face all over again here in the finale.
Ebel unable to make contact. It's 3-2. He popped foul, handled by Kurtz in the first inning, and then flew out to right in the fourth. He'll put this in play, left field, and that's going to be right in the footsteps of Williams, 2 down. So after getting that leadoff runner, Micheletti aboard on a grinded out at bat and a free pass, he's still at first base with 2 down from McCann.
Yeah, give LeFew credit. Left-hander doing a good job. Really good play behind him at third base for Seaver King on the first out, but then just a lazy ball there off the bat of Ebel. Ebel does such a good job of going the other way on a pitch that he saw there from LeFew, but tries to get extended and turn on that, and that you get it off the end of the bat, pulled to the left side. Easy play for the left fielder in Javar Williams.
McCann started game 1, was 0 for 3. Painful night, the hat trick, and then he was hit by a pitch, and the only other at bat he had. He was a pinch hitter yesterday and came in to catch at the end of things, but was 0 for 1 in that contest. He singled in the fourth here for his first hit of the weekend. Trying to follow that up with something else productive now, and he's ahead in the count 2-0.
If you're Virginia Tech, find a way to get on. Not the inning you wanted with 2 retired after Micheletti's able to earn the leadoff walk, but you got Henry Cook on deck, a big bat for the Hokies. Cook also the tying run if he's able to get to the plate. And that's how close these ball games have been. Yeah, Deke's up 3, but Hokies a swing away if they get another aboard, and a guy like Cook who's got a lot of power. Lefty-righty matchup with LeFew on the mound. Good take there from McCann, 3-0.
The margins so very small, perhaps even smaller than the scores have indicated across these 3 games. Still a hitter's count at 3-1. There's ball 4. Just as Mr. Wells called for, the tying run coming to the plate for the Hokies here in the bottom of the 6th.
Well, and that's the move, too. Virginia Tech looking to get the lefty-righty matchup. Wake Forest knows better than that. They're going to go to the pen, get the lefty out of here. LeFew did a great job, but getting to that point now in this game, want to maintain the lead if you're Wake Forest. I'm going to go righty-righty matchup with Henry Cook coming to the plate.
Tom Walter, who used Falco and Gunther on Friday. Morningstar, first out of the pen, who grabbed the win yesterday. Then Johnston, Ray, and Rowland, what was used by Wake Forest behind him. Of course, that was in support of Hartle in game 2. And the call to the pen being made once more with Virginia Tech threatening. Former Pennsylvania State Player of the Year, Blake Morningstar, takes over. He was the pitcher of record yesterday after coming on out of the pen for Wake Forest. You see his numbers coming into the weekend overall. Across 13-plus innings of work now for the Demon Deacons.
And you sense that first piece of a little bit of chess match here. We talked about Micheletti able to reach on the base on balls to start things off, and then LeFew looks like he might cruise and avoid any further damage after the L5 to King at third, followed by a Lazy ball hit off the bat of Ebel to left field for out number 2, but then a really good job by David McCann to work the walk and get 2 aboard, bring Henry Cook to the plate, forces Wake back to the pen in this righty-righty matchup here.
Morning Star to Cook, who is 0 for 1, did walk in the 4th. Latest of the major spots Cook finds himself up in this weekend.
And the names like Cook and Canizero and Christian Martin, all the guys that are just looking for that opportunity, have been so productive for Virginia Tech all year long. Haven't really had the success that they've wanted to here this weekend against this Wake pitching staff. As he takes ball 2. We talked about it with the pitching change. Cook with a chance yesterday in the latter innings and just looked to be pressing a little bit at the plate. Really big swings. Now ahead 2-0 in this at bat. See if he shortens up, just tries to drive something.
The sophomore kid out of Stewart's draft will lift this foul. And it's 2-1 as he bats with 2 down in a prime spot for the Hokies, trying to finally battle back. He's got those 6 home runs on the year, 7 doubles and a triple to his credit as well. Any of those contributions right now would mean a different ball game for Virginia Tech here in the bottom of the 6th inning. And Morning Star working back-to-back days, consecutive weekends now out of the bullpen for Wake Forest, is thinking long and hard about his 2-1 pitch. He's going to check the runner and deliver. Make it 2-2. Morning Star, a 2-sport athlete. He was also a 1,000-point scorer in basketball. It's Final Four weekend, right?
That's
Got to
right.
bring basketball up somehow.
That's right.
Especially as good as the Hokies have been, both men's and women's side in recent years. He was a 1,000-point scorer in the state of Pennsylvania and a player of the year on the baseball side. And he delivers a 2-2 deep in the hole. Going to require something special from the shortstop, and it gets away. That'll mean the Hokies score a run. Down from third is Micheletti, and they inch a little closer on the throwing miscue. Sometimes it's just about putting the ball in play, and the kid from Stewart's draft did just that.
Well, and it's oftentimes about timing, right? 2 outs there, good at bat there between Morning Star and Cook. Cook puts the ball in play, really tough play for Marek Houston at shortstop. You have King going to his left, so no opportunity for the short throw on the left side to third. Has to go across the diamond, and just one that Nick Kurtz is unable to come up with, gets by, and that's the break that Virginia Tech has been looking for 2.5 games now.
This is in the air. Center field should be the inning, and it will be as Nelson is underneath it. So another single run scored for the Hokies. But once again, Virginia Tech chips away within 2 as we head to the 7th. 2-run lead for the Wake Forest Demon Deacons as we work into the 7th inning at English Field in Blacksburg. Happy to have you with us for our ACC Network coverage as the North Carolina native gets a chance to pitch against the team from his home state. The left-hander Matthew Sieverling called upon for Virginia Tech now.
Yeah, Brady Kurtner does his job following Griffin Stigg, the starter for the Hokies. So righty now on to the lefty in Sieverling. See the small sample size of just 8 1/3 innings worked, but his 9th appearance, so kind of a specialty guy coming here. 2, 3, 4 coming up for Wake Forest. I'd expect you might see a couple different names now here down the stretch. So Sieverling for the 7th, if he can have a clean frame, and Hokies able to get that one back in the bottom half of the 6th. Don't want to do what they did in the bottom 4th and top of 5th and give it right back to the Deeks. Maintain this 2-run deficit. Give yourself a chance in the final third of this game to squeak out a victory and not give up 3 losses here at home in this ACC series.
You said it, Kurtz looming on deck as the second hitter in this inning as Taylor starts things. Winay also scheduled 2, 3, 4 for the Deacons right after the Hokies have pulled as close as they've been since Kurtz last homered in the 3rd frame. First pitch out of the zone from the Matthews, North Carolina native. If you're wondering about it, that's in the Charlotte area, so not at great distance from Winston-Salem, but not immediately in the shadow of Wake Forest University either for the left-hander, who crossed over and brought his talents to Blacksburg. He's had some moments in that Virginia Tech uniform, that is for sure. Think about the Pitt series back in 2021, which he was one of the headliners. Who can forget what he did in the ACC baseball championship right there near his hometown when he pitched top-seeded Virginia Tech into a victory in late May over the Clemson Tigers. Comes up in a big spot here. Not maybe that high-profile spot of some of those moments, Andrew, but when you consider how important this Sunday suddenly is to Virginia Tech, this is a big moment for he and the Hokies.
Yeah, this is a huge 3 innings, really is what we're down to now. Virginia Tech shrinking this game, trying to find a way to stay in it. Really good job there by Seaver. Gets behind in that count. We've talked about the leader getting on for Wake so often in today's game. Not so much the case for the Virginia Tech offense, but the lefty battles back there, keeping base runners off the base paths with Kurtz coming to the plate and a huge first out to Ben Watson in center field.
Yeah, routine fly ball on a 3-2 pitch. And I'll underscore and put the highlighter to your point, which is anytime you can face this guy with the way he's seeing it right now, with nobody out there to strengthen the damage that he can do with one swing, you've done something. He homered on Friday, again yesterday, and the first 5 runs in this ball game coming on Nick Kurtz swings as he homered in each of his first 2 at-bats today. They load up the right side of the infield as Kurtz awaits a 1-0. That finds the zone and leaving the count. Off speed at 85, 1-1. 6 runs total. Wake adding 1 in the 5th beyond his 2 homers. Right to the second baseman. Plenty of time for Martin to toss it to Ebel. And that is the first time today that Nick Kurtz, who has been on a tear to start this road trip for Wake Forest through the ACC at least, he has handled 4-3.
Oh, you could almost sense that this well-in-tune crowd recognized that. A little bit of a extra applause for that put out there. Kurtz has been a really tough out for Virginia Tech and this Hokies pitching staff, but a good job there, lefty Seaver to get him to roll over right side. Had the shift on as you suggested. Christian Martin in the right spot. Easy flip over to Ebel for the out.
Yeah, you got that. He is in fact human hand clap that you can get from time to time when the guy's having a type of weekend that Kurtz has put together here. Here's the 1-0. I mean, you think about the way Kurtz is seeing it right now. It's got to look like a beach ball coming in there to him.
Yeah, took the words right out of my mouth, absolutely. Hokies on the other end trying to see that beach ball. Haven't been able to do so, but chipping away.
1-1 in the air. This may be a 1, 2, 3 inning through a deadly part of the Wake order. For the North Carolina native, Matthew Silverling comes on and retires the Deeks in order to keep it a 2-run game at stretch time. Josh Gunther picked up the save on Friday night in behind that 15K performance from Chase Burns. It was just Burns, Falco, and Gunther ending up working in that game. He's making his 15th appearance in Game 3 and trying to protect a 2-run lead for the Demon Deacons as you look at his numbers on the year.
Yeah, 2 strikeouts to every walk for Gunther, 15th appearance. Just the 17 innings of work, but like you said, able to get it done Friday and leaning on him again to get it done here. If you're Virginia Tech, we saw it Friday, we saw it Saturday, and we're back in the same position here today. Wake just good enough to have the lead and trying to hang on. We're able to do so in the first 2. Virginia Tech also hanging in and trying to find a way to get over the hump. So see what Gunther's got as he sees the top of the lineup here. Martin, DiMartini, Canizero, all guys that would really like to get going in a series that they have not been as productive as Maybe they have been otherwise throughout the course of this season.
Hokies fans, close your ears. A combined 0 for 8 thus far in the game today, this top tier. And it only grabs your attention because of how good they have been at the top of the order all season long for Virginia Tech. Here's the 0-1 to Martin. Make it 0-2. Gunther, 28 strikeouts in 17 and a third innings, worth repeating to you what you saw on the screen. And he just picked up his first to open his portion of the ball game out of the Wake bullpen, as Martin is retired in that fashion.
Well, and didn't waste any time. 3 pitches, 3 strikes, 1 out.
I think they call it very economical as he works his way in out of the pen. Gunther, an impressive arm in the Wake stable. And DeMartini, he has been aboard. It's not like the top of the order has done nothing. It was a walk in the first inning that started things to DeMartini. He came around to score in the 2-run first for the Hokies. But again, still looking for the first base knock for this group up top. And right now looking to catch up to this delivery. That looks like it caught Cameron Gill.
Yeah, that doesn't feel good, equipment or not. That's a 94-mile-an-hour fastball from Gunther. Contact off the bat of DeMartini. Appeared to be straight into the mask of Cameron Gill.
Now, one thing you know, Joseph Blumenauer, our home plate umpire, knows exactly how that feels, and he's going to provide as much time as Gill needs, so with good reason.
Yeah, absolutely. Take a look here. Yeah, that's why you wear the mask, but that still does not feel good.
Nothing but respect for the guys who wear the equipment behind the plate. Here comes a 1-1. Mentioned that he was a transfer to Wake Forest from Wofford. Didn't have to change the wardrobe. Still in the old gold and black. And by the way, basketball weekend, and we referenced that with the Final Four coming up. Mike Young, you know, who came over back home to the New River Valley, the Radford guy, and now the head coach of the Hokies, bringing an ACC championship in recent years here to Blacksburg. Put that Wofford basketball program in many ways on the map with those tournament runs. Fletcher McGee and company, and a number of those great players he had, is another Wofford connection to the ACC and certainly to this Virginia Tech family athletically. Here's the 2-2, and that is into right center. There it is, that elusive knock, and it comes out of the 2 spot in the order. A 1-out base hit, and in a 2-run ball game now, that means tying run to the plate for Virginia Tech.
Well, that's where chipping away is so important. They tried to do so in the bottom of the 4th, as we touched on. Wake, a good job to answer on that intentional walk, as Kurtz was able to come around and score in the next half. But then they chipped away in the last half to get 1 back, and instead of getting 2 aboard to get the tying run to the plate, it's just 1 good piece of hitting there from DeMartini, 2-strike approach. And now you've got Canizero, your tying run at the plate.
Takes a look at a called strike 1. Canizero, 7 blasts on the year. Question has been asked, when will the Hammerin' Hokies show up on this Sunday? Well, a chance right now that would put Virginia Tech on even footing. Canizero lifts this in the air, but that's shallow right. And Wane will wait on it, 2 down. It will be up to the guy who had the home run swing on Friday night. Grand slam from Micheletti that we showed you earlier in the game. The defining offensive moment for this team. But it is not all Micheletti has done. He is 1 for 1, has reached all 3 times today. That one, a double in the 4th. He walked and scored a run in the 1st. He walked again in the 6th inning. And the cleanup man at the plate. In Virginia Tech's best opportunity to equalize in recent memory.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We talked about DeMartini, Christian Martin, Cannizzaro, Henry Cook, all guys with power, able to hit the long ball. Haven't done it this weekend. DeMartini able to drive that one, the lone base runner here in this inning. But to your point, in short memory, it's been Micheletti who went big fly with the bases loaded in game one of this series, and he's going to try to put one in play here with the Hokies still chasing two.
One thing you know, Joshua Gunther provides a good deal of the power on the mound as well for you to turn one around. He will foul this pitch off, and Micheletti have to do a nice piece of two-strike hitting here. He's behind just that, 0-2.
Oh, and I like the approach from Gunther, even with the tying run coming to the plate. He's got that good, solid fastball. He's coming right after these guys.
Well, that was a 52-footer that ended up working its way to the backstop, and that will put a run in scoring position as DeMartini coasts down to second base.
That was not the fastball we just spoke of. See if after that pitch he doesn't come back with it. Still ahead in the count, 1-2. DeMartini a base hit away from cutting this lead in half here for Virginia Tech, but yeah. Micheletti working with two strikes.
Pitch misses. 93 speed check on that delivery. Deuce is wild. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Runner at second in a 2-run ball game. And here is the spot for Eddie Micheletti. Virginia Tech's double-digit home run man on the year. That's in the dirt. And moving up to third base is DeMartini. You could almost sense Hokies fans holding their breath. They've had a couple of runners thrown out at the plate today. They thought perhaps the inning was going to end at third, but DeMartini, wise enough to slide on in there.
Yeah, like you said, read it well in the turf. King almost picks that up and has a chance for a play. If you're the Hokies, almost a chance for it to get by and pick up that run without Micheletti getting the base hit. But instead, full count. DeMartini way down the line.
He walks about a third of the way home, and then Micheletti puts a pretty good charge into this, but there's just enough real estate out there in right field for Winne to gather it up, and the inning comes to a close. Hokies threaten in the bottom of the 7th, but it holds steady at a 2-run ball game. Well, a glance at what's happening around the ACC on this Sunday. A number of finales and a couple of series being settled. Georgia Tech taking the series from Pitt in a rubber match. And same thing happening outside of Boston as Florida State, Link Jared and Company, taking care of business 9-2. They're in Brighton, Mass to claim the series against the Eagles. The one series that was settled yesterday, North Carolina salvaged the finale, though Virginia took the first 2 in the only other showdown of ranked teams happening in the ACC this weekend. You're watching the one between 21st ranked Wake Forest and 11th ranked Virginia Tech as the only 2 ranked teams still going head-to-head in ACC play on this Sunday. 2-run game as the Hokies threaten there in the bottom half of the 7th, but were turned aside on a long fly ball to right. Anything jump out at you off the ACC scoreboard?
Well, I was just thinking more about the rankings, really, to your point of the Carolina-UVA matchup, and here Virginia Tech, Wake Forest. Still plenty of baseball left here for Virginia Tech if you're the home team. If you're Wake, you're 6 outs away from a sweep on the road after, I think what they would say has been some struggles early on in the year, really coming to form here in Blacksburg. But wonder what tomorrow looks like. Even if it's 2 wins or the sweep, how far does Virginia Tech fall? What does Wake do to kind of climb back to that more top 10 approach versus the latter part of the top 25 and threatening to fall out? Obviously not falling out after 2 wins here on the road in Blacksburg, but we'll see things kind of shake up a little bit as far as rankings are concerned, as Silverling does a good job to get the leader and a fly ball to Watson moving to his right for out number 1.
Yeah, nice play out in center field, 1 down. To your point, Clemson was 2nd in the country, Duke 9th, North Carolina 10th, Virginia Tech obviously 11th, Florida State 14th, Virginia 15th, NC State 19th and Wake 21st. That was how the 8 lined up in D1 Baseball's latest rankings that is used by ESPN. That was coming into this week of action. So always some shuffling from one week to the next. And again, Georgia Tech locking down that series against Pitt in Pittsburgh. And how about Lake Jarrett and company, 14th ranked Florida State. They take the finale after Cam Leary hit that walk-off home run in the 11th inning for Boston College yesterday. This is deep to right, and that's going to sail over the bullpen. A solo shot for King, his second big fly of the weekend, and Seaver King reestablishes the lead at 3. What is it about the 3-run lead for Wake Forest this weekend? It is back in effect here in the 8th.
Oh, it's huge. It's that insurance run with 6 outs to go. We just talked about Virginia Tech, 2 at-bats remaining. We take another look, lefty-righty matchup. That is a lot like the 3-run shot yesterday for Seaver King. Pitcher does his part to elevate one, outer half, arms, hands get extended. And King shows power to the opposite side there. That one down the line just over the bullpen in right field. And there's that 1 run that pushes this ball game back to a 3-run deficit.
106 velocity out of here on that last delivery, as you saw at the top of your screen. You know, the Virginia Tech bullpen had held Wake pretty quiet. You go back to the 3rd inning for the last consequential hit. That was when Kurtz hit the second of his home runs. 5 of the now 7 runs had been scored by that time. But 1 in the 5th, 1 in the 8th, and each time, this is maybe the more important scenario here, each time the Hokies had chipped away to inch a little closer, the Deacons have once again answered.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We talked about Kurtz and his bat, obviously accounting for 5 of them. 2-run shot in the 1st, 3-run shot in the 3rd. And the solo shot, which we touched on, is Silverling does a good job to come back with the strikeout there, but the solo shot, we said, doesn't hurt as much, right, as the 3-run home run. Unfortunately, if you're Virginia Tech, it hurts a little bit more in the 8th than it might in the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th inning with plenty of baseball to play. That's that insurance run that the Demon Deeks on the road are looking to get as we see the bullpen moving and trying to extend the lead and make it more challenging for Virginia Tech as we enter the last couple, and Coach Sheff out here for another pitching move in Virginia Tech.
Now takes away the bloop and the blast scenario for his team, at least momentarily. With the lead 3 for Wake Forest, 2 down in this 8th inning. Virginia Tech once again making the call to the bullpen. Well, they're looking to, at some point before the day is done, use those hammers, right? Hammer and Hokies still needing a blast or 2 as they trail the Wake Forest Demon Deacons in this ranked showdown. They turn to another North Carolina native against the crew out of Winston-Salem in this latest call to the bullpen with 2 down in the 8th. It's Jordan Little taking over.
Yeah, Jordan Little, like you said, the junior, take a look, 11 appearances, yielding 7 hits. He's got the 15 strikeouts and just 1 walk in 10 1/3 innings of work. Talked about Wake Forest and Chase Burns and some of these hitters with the long ball and their energy. Number 50 for Virginia Tech is not a guy that lacks energy. Jordan Little, in his appearances so far this year, has been pretty fired up. Coming on here, trying to settle in with 2 outs recorded and keep this a 3-run ball game, give his offense a chance with 2 at-bats left.
He was a 2-time All-State performer in North Carolina, attended Hickory Grove Christian School. That's right outside of Charlotte, or right there in Charlotte, North Carolina. Mint Hill, he calls his hometown, as he completes his warm-up tosses. Saw some action against East Carolina in 2022 and made his mark against that Pirates program in 2023. It was during that time that he was there at one of the premier programs in the country, really. It may not be in one of the Power 5 leagues, but at East Carolina, being there speaks to how solid you can be. I think one of the first games you and I were sitting here together years ago. East Carolina rolled through a program that has as many postseason opportunities and regional and super regional appearances without quite breaking through and getting to Omaha just yet. But when you've been in that pipeline and in that program, it speaks to your value. And now working his way from there to become a key part of this Hokies bullpen as he goes to work with his 0-1 just outside. Make it 1-1. But North Carolina kids back-to-back out of the bullpen, trying to quiet the crew from the heart of the state of North Carolina as Cameron Gill bats again. He swings through this. Boy, that was a nice-looking pitch, Andrew.
Really good pitch, a lot of movement. You saw kind of the horizontal break on that one. Gill out in front. Good run away from the right-handed hitter.
Gill, sinking liner that will knock up a little of that turf dust out there in center field. He's got a base hit. Gill now 1 for 4 makes his contribution at the plate, in addition to all the things we've talked about related to his work behind the dish today. And that will bring Nelson to the dish. Boy, he's been consequential as well. When you think defense and you're looking at Gill out there, a guy who really served as one of the tone setters defensively, cutting down that run from center field earlier. He'll be trotting to first in painful fashion as a 2-out hit batsman sees the inning all of a sudden take a turn here in the 8th.
Yeah, that one there just gets away from Little, way in. Off the knee of Nelson. Taking a few extra breaths down there at first base, make sure he's good, but looks like he's ready to go. And saw this yesterday as well. Hokies go to the pen with 2 outs, nobody aboard. And then Wake able to put a little something together, pick up 2 runs, 2 crucial runs in that 3-run victory. Do the same again here in the 8th as they get 2 aboard on the base hit off the bat of Gill, and then Nelson there hit by pitch. So a chance for Marek Houston here. See if they can pick up another insurance before the 8th is done for the Deeks.
Nelson going to be icing the kneecap ahead of the midweek. That one of the more painful ways to work your way aboard, right on that kneecap. Here's a called strike to Houston. Speaking of the midweek, we were talking about East Carolina, Coastal Carolina, the team out of that mid-major rank that won the College World Series back in 2016, most recently among some of those flagship programs. Next up for the Deeks, that's a home stop for Wake before they go to Boston College. And Cameron Gill, who's out at second base, sees his old head coach, now the new head man at BC. Here's the 1-2. Swinging through it, taking care of Houston. And despite a little bit of trouble with a couple of base runners, Jordan Little will come off the mound and get the Hokies back in the dugout. Virginia Tech needing some late offense as Seaver King has once more established a 3-run Wake Forest advantage. With 5, 6, 7 due up in the bottom half of the 8th inning for Virginia Tech, with the Hokies trailing by 3 as Wake looks to sweep the series in Blacksburg. They turn to Zach Johnston, Massachusetts native, and sophomore left-hander will be the latest out of the pen for the Deeks.
Yeah, I saw the tall lefty yesterday. And back here in this one as well. 28 strikeouts, 13 walks. Virginia Tech's trying to find a way to claw back in. I'd say this is an inning where you want to scratch at least one. You talked about the bloop and the bomb in the 9th. If you want to have a chance, a lot easier to chase 1 or 2 instead of the 3 that they now are chasing after the insurance run in the top half of the 8th for Wake Forest.
Slim Johnston, who is trying to prevent that for the Deacons. He followed up Morningstar, who picked up the win behind Hartle yesterday, and it was Ray and Rowland behind him. That's how the Deacons used the bullpen in Game 2. The 6-3 win. 8-5, just remarkable in the opener, a 3-run win. 6-3 in Game 2, and 7-4 now as the Deacons look for the bigger of the 3s, and that would be 3 victories on the road in Blacksburg this weekend to bring out the brooms. Going to be up to Watson and company to try and prevent that. Couple of singles today. He's 2 for 3, having boosted the average to 389. Well, whatever happens in this one, we talked about the consequential series that are ahead for Wake on the road as the Deacons are starting a run of 3 out of the next 4 weekends in the ACC away from home right now. Virginia Tech goes to Atlanta next weekend. Then we'll have Duke here, tangle with North Carolina in Chapel Hill before welcoming in Miami, and then heading to Virginia in that Commonwealth Clash to close out their ACC slate. So that's how it shakes out moving forward. Just kind of glance ahead at the Virginia Tech schedule. Andrew, your thoughts on what's in front of the Hokies?
Well, yeah, we talked about how good this conference is, and Virginia Tech's been super successful in the ACC coming into this weekend.
Here's a bid for one down that left field side, but it keeps hooking. Looks like it's going to land foul, and it will.
But yeah, they've got a tough streak ahead. There you take a look at it. Even Liberty coming in here, midweek game. We'll have that one on Wednesday. Radford the following week in between, staying here close in the New River Valley. But Georgia Tech, Duke, Miami, Carolina, UVA. I mean, again, just groups all beating up on one another. And Virginia Tech, after flying high coming into this series, realizing how important victories will be going forward. As you mentioned, kind of midway point of the ACC and into the backstretch, trying to get into the postseason and really in a reputable spot. Anything can happen then in that ACC tourney, obviously. But both teams, between Wake hitting the road and Virginia Tech with a tough slate, got a lot of tough baseball in front of them.
Here's a 3-2 to Watson, going to be grounded. Kurtz down, and he'll underhand it to his pitcher at the back. Foot race, and it looks like Johnston just got over there to make the play, 1 down. Well, as you glance at the way things shake out the rest of the way, ACC-wise, and yet even that Liberty contest, certainly going to be a challenge in the midweek. Remember, Liberty last April picked up a 7-3 win here that Virginia Tech would go to Lynchburg and avenge 14-1 a little bit later in the season. So that's going to be a tough one as well. But you look at the ACC slate, every one of those teams, save for Georgia Tech, ranked in the top 15 in the country right now, okay? And Georgia Tech is going to be coming off of a series win they just picked up against Pitt. So Jackets will be riding high as well. They're going to give a look at Slim Johnston here, as he's going to take a few tosses with the close eye of both the coaching staff and the training staff here. Perhaps something on that most recent delivery that left him with some discomfort.
Yeah, you see that knee brace on the left side, Ward, in yesterday's outing as well. And as you mentioned, just able to beat Watson to the bag, but a long way for Johnston to catch that ball from Kurtz and tap on first there in stride, and there he goes to the brace on the left side, back leg for the lefty.
Here he is winning that foot race to the bag. What do you see there, Andrew?
Yeah, maybe the way he gets that right foot out of the way, all the pressure's on the left side. Obviously something tweaked with that knee previously to be wearing that brace, but right there as he gets through it, couple hops, it looks like he's good to go.
It looked like they had him throwing just to see, how's the landing going to work out in the motion moving forward. He secures that first out of the inning and now goes to work against Ebel. Hokies with the leadoff man Watson making a bid for one down the left field side that was not quite to be, and then nearly beating it out on the diving play by Kurtz. But again, a Virginia Tech team that would like to use some come-from-behind momentum late in this one to propel them into a tough stretch conference-wise. This is also stroked well, but it's going to be in range for Winay to come over and make the catch, 2 down. Not often that you're going to look at the remainder of your schedule and you're going to say, yeah, well, we're halfway through the season, but almost everybody else we have to face the rest of the way in the league, they're in the top 15 in the country. That's certainly the case as he thinks about what is in front of his team moving forward. Coach Sheff's focus right now, though, find a way to pick up a few runs with only 4 outs with which to work. To that end, he's going to turn to the bench, and Eddie Eisert is going to be called upon here, the senior inside the Commonwealth product out of Fairfax Station.
Yeah, these games are just all too familiar, too much alike. Same move yesterday. Isaac came in about this time, able to punch one to the right side and get on base. Worked out for the Hokies in that instance. Turned out to be a good move and got aboard. Going to try to do the same thing here with 2 outs. Henry Cook on deck. You get a couple more to the plate here. You bring the top of the lineup, which we talked about again. So good, not taking anything away from that group, but has certainly struggled here this weekend in this 3-game set. But if you're Virginia Tech, you'd still like to give them an opportunity when it matters most in the bottom half of the ninth. So see what Isaac can do here in a pinch hit spot to get on the base pads.
Well, and fans will remember DeMartini finally broke through, got a base hit for that group the last time around. And you know what Martin and Canizero are capable of surrounding him in that top third of the order. One off speed, low and tight. 2 down in the 8th inning. Even in the hit column again. It really jumps off the scoreboard at you. 7 apiece. But where it counts, that separation of 3 that has been a familiar refrain all weekend long. 2 errors on the board. They both belong to the Deacs. But so does that 3-run advantage. 2-1 down. Isert picking up his 2nd hit in 15 at-bats this year with that base hit and a pinch hitting role yesterday. Also has drawn a couple of walks this season. And he'll take a called strike on a 3-1. Just was trying to work his way aboard, extend the inning, give Cook a chance.
Well, looked like a good take there. That's a tough pitch. Good one for Johnston to win as he was trailing the count 3-1.
A 3-2 fought off. Out of play first base side. Hokies a couple of runs in the 1st, a run in the 4th, a run in the 6th. Got to break through again here in the 8th inning. 3-2, 2-out offering. And it is a called strike 3, back to nearly the same location. And Johnston will bounce off the mound, get his team back in the dugout, and into the 9th inning with a lead at 7-4. Wake Forest carries a 3-run advantage into the final frame once again in Blacksburg. Demon Deacons a 3-run lead in the 9th inning, as Tellier, Kurtz, and Winne will have one more opportunity to add on, though more than 3 not having been needed so far in this series. A couple of 3-run victories giving the Deacons a bounce-back series win after a tough weekend at home against one of their rivals, the North Carolina Tar Heels, this past weekend. Wake Forest looking to rip a page out of that playbook, go on the road, and take all 3. They find themselves 3 defensive outs away from doing so. Virginia Tech, with Little remaining out there atop the mound, going to have to be careful behind Jordan Little, because this is a dangerous part of the order to navigate, with Kurtz, who's already homered twice today, certainly the headliner on deck. Begins with Tellier, and his first pitch, Jordan Little's that is down, ball 1. Well, the way things ended there in the 8th, going to leave it up to 8, 9, and 1 for Virginia Tech in the bottom of this inning, home half of the 9th. But first things first, dealing with Tellier, who fouls this off, make it 1-1. That pitch is in and dancing out of the way is Tellier. He has been hit by a pitch once today. Thought that may be coming again, and he scored a run. That was in the 3rd inning after he was hit. Otherwise, 0 for 2 out of the 2 spot in the order, having popped out and flown out. And if you're wondering about the first AB of the day, successful sacrifice for Wake. Takes a strike. 3-2 to the leadoff man in the 9th inning. Well, Hokies team that last weekend, though things did go their way in the ultimate outcome of the series, Andrew, was held to just 17 runs all weekend, their low water mark on the year. And so far, just 12 this weekend. Here's a fair ball that is going to carry him off the glove of DeMartini, who's been so sure-handed over there at the hot corner thus far today. But it'll mean a leadoff base runner for Wake Forest.
That's a tough one there for the third baseman. Big hop, has to come get it. If he takes a step back and plays that second one, no chance for a play. So aggressively coming ahead, and unfortunately for DeMartini and the Hokies, just gets under the glove. Like you said, gets the leadoff aboard and Tellier for the Deeks.
Well, and that means somebody out there on the base paths in front of you-know-who. Deacon, first baseman, back up there once more. If you're finding us late in this series, 4 blasts this weekend. He homered on Friday night, on Saturday night, and in his first 2 at-bats here today. In fact, his home run last night, for those of you just joining us or finding us late in the game, was in the 9th inning. So he had 3 consecutive at-bats in this series. Yesterday wrapping over into the start of today, in which he homered, and as a result was given an intentional free pass in the middle stages of this one. Still taking that home run cut, but he falls behind 1 and 2. This may be the weekend they point back to and say that's when Nick Kurtz got going, and that means great things for Wake Forest as they try to pursue another run toward Omaha, replicating what they did in the postseason a year ago. Again, still piecing some of the arms together. You know, Chase Burns is going to be there from a strength standpoint with the 15 Ks on Friday, but boy, Kurtz, the catalyst for this offense, goes a long way to making them feel real good about things in Winston-Salem.
Yeah, and another arm I liked a lot this weekend was the lefty Hartle. Yesterday in Game 2, following Chase Burns, that's a pretty good 1-2 punch for Wake Forest and Tom Walter.
And they reverse roles in recent weeks, and he has tried to do it again, deep to left center, and that is going to be another for Kurtz. A 3-home run day for the Wake Forest first baseman. That's the second time that he's stopped at first just to make sure, as there was a valiant effort made for it by Canizero out there. Everybody hit the pause button long enough to see, did it work by the leather of the Hokies left fielder? And it is a familiar result for Kurtz. What a weekend for the Wake Forest slugger.
Well, and again, maybe most impressive, he shows the opposite field power. Doesn't turn on that one behind in that count early. Does a good job to stay in it. And then a pitch there from Little that just gets out over the plate, elevated. Doesn't try to pull it like he did at the end of last night and to start here with the 2-run shot in the first inning, but goes the other way, almost identical spot to his 3-run blast in the third. Like you said, it looked like Canizero might have had a chance, but runs out of real estate, and Kurtz is the MVP, no question about it.
Kurtz just hit his 8th home run in the last 8 days, and this weekend became a double-digit home run man with his first 2. And he now has his first 3 home run game career-wise. And the hitting will not stop there. This is going to be a 2-bagger for Winne, who now has a multi-hit effort of his own out of the cleanup spot, and Wake Forest keeping the pressure applied in what is now a 9-4 ball game.
Well, I think that's the one thing that we said, the trend this weekend. 8-5 victory game 1, 6-3 game 2. Never really pulled away, put it away. Virginia Tech loomed, hung around. Maybe here to finish up this series, and a really solid performance for the visiting Demon Deacons. They found a way to get those insurance runs. Don't forget about 1 in the 8th, 2 off the bat of Kurtz here. And then that ball's really hard hit down the line for Winne, and a double still in business. No outs in the 9th.
Couple of changes coming. It looks like Virginia Tech is ready to make one bullpen-wise. And Mitchell Salvino, you saw trot out there. He was a pinch runner, eventually a right fielder in game 1 of the series, and he is going to be the runner at second base on the other side of the break when you return to Blacksburg. Change made as Wake Forest sees the lead grow in the 9th. Jacob Stretch still available in the bullpen, and the Pennsylvania native, junior right-hander, now warming up as he will be called upon Virginia Tech going to the pen, now down 5 in this 9th inning. 12th appearance for Stretch.
Yeah, the right-hander here, just one job. Damage control. And here it's the runner at second base after Kurtz able to go deep for the 3rd time in this game, and just going to try to keep it a 5-run game, and crazier things have happened. But again, for me in this weekend, the trend was Wake Forest ahead, but not really putting anyone away. Unfortunately for Virginia Tech, never able to take advantage of Wake Forest not pulling away and finding a way to even up or take a win in game 1 or game 2. Here, they're showing a little bit of firepower late. 1 in the 8th, 2 here in the 9th. Nobody out, runner on second. I'm trying to solidify a really good weekend on the road in ACC play, and maybe the turning point for Tom Walter and the Deeks as they look to go on the road many times in the next couple weekends in play and show that they're that top 10 team everybody thought they were.
Certainly for Nick Kurtz, that's for sure. Latest of his home runs coming in this inning. It seems the Demon Deacons took offense to North Carolina rolling in there and swiping 3 away, with the brooms brought out by the now 10th-ranked Tar Heels in Winston-Salem last weekend. You know, Nick Kurtz sat by and watched Parks Harbor, who became the National Hitter of the Week out of the ACC Player of the Week, put together a 3-home-run game. Must have said, I'd like to have one of those myself. He secured one on the road in Blacksburg on this Sunday. Here's the 0-1 from Stretch to Reinisch. Reinisch has had a extra base hit today, had a double back in the 3rd inning, and he is 1 for 4. Been a complete effort up and down the lineup in many ways. So much attention given to Kurtz, but he's hitting these home runs with men on base. And the guys behind him, guys like Reinisch, also grabbing extra base hits along the way today and this weekend. But you talk about anybody hitting 8 home runs in just over a week. That is coming to life. And as Kurtz has come to life, this Wake Forest team has found its groove. 2-1 out to second. Making sure he had the handle on it. Martin will sling it sidearm to first for a 4-3 putout. That will move the runner, Salvino, the pinch runner, who came on after Winay's double, over to third. He's 90 feet away with what would be a 10th run. Interestingly enough, for all the hitting this weekend, this would be the first double-digit run total for the Deacons, winning game 1 8-5, game 2 6-3, and now leading at 9-4 here. Infield in, trying to cut down any further damage. As the first pitch to King is off the plate. King hit his 2nd home run in as many days, with a blast his last time up, a solo shot. That was that insurance run in the 8th. He provided that little bit of insurance 1 inning ago with that home run. And Wake buying everything the insurance man is selling here in the 9th inning with another blast from Kurtz to extend the lead to what would be its largest mark among the outcomes this weekend. Oh, 2 sliced foul. Well, this is one of those weekends that, like you said, first time the Deacons have really said that's going to be the ball game. We want to put the finishing touches on this. And again, stranger things have happened than a 5-run comeback, but it's going to be a tall hill to climb for Virginia Tech. In the air to right, let's see. As Micheletti ranges over there, the runner's going to tag and come home. He will, and he will make it across safely. Pinch runner Salvino scores. There is that 10th run. And a 10-4 contest now in effect as Wake Forest leads